You guys ready back there? Now you are. Sorry. Will we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Ms. Allen.
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Here.
Ms. DePayne?
Here.
Ms. Forrest?
Here.
Mr. Marzine?
Here.
Dr. Peck? Here. Mr. Pirro?
Here.
Ms. Ratner?
Here.
Ms. Sharma?
She texted me she might be a little bit late.
Okay. Mr. Tufano?
Here.
Mr. Zeichner?
Here.
We have a quorum. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published, and electronic notice provided by having the date, time, and place thereof posted March 11, 2026, at all schools on the district website, filed with the clerk of the municipality. Pursuant to S4 654, a public notice specifying where Board of Education meeting notices are posted can be found on mycentraljersey.com.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
You're welcome.
I guess I should announce that this was put in existence as of March 1st.
Yes.
So that's why, Ms. Allen, we don't have to post in newspapers or any kind of papers or anything like that. So that's the reason for the change. Thank you. The closed session, whereas the Senator Byron M. Byer Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, et sec, the Act provides that the Monroe Township Board of Education may hold an executive session from which the public is excluded to discuss matters that are confidential or are one of the 9 subject matters listed in Section 12B of the Act, and whereas that the Board hereby declares that its discussion of the following subject or subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Monroe Township Board of Education that the board shall go into executive session to discuss the following items. Additional items may be determined and announced as needed. Item number 1, pending or anticipated litigation in matters covered by the attorney-client privilege, matters involving employees in terms of their employment contract, an HIB investigation involving students, and an HIB appeal. So we'll be going into closed session for about, we have a question? Okay. For about an hour, we'll be out by 7:15.
Motion.
Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
No discussion? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're back on. We're at number 6, the approval of minutes. The Board of Education meeting, February 18, 2026. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Closed session meeting, February 18, 2026. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Now, our wonderful time of our meeting is our student reports. How are you guys tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Okay, today we're going to be opening with Mill Lake Elementary School. Mill Lake School's annual Kids Heart Challenge was an incredible success this year. Now in its 23rd year, this special event continues to inspire the students to learn about heart health while helping others. Thanks to the generosity and enthusiasm of the Mill Lake community, the students raised an outstanding $22,000, making this a record-setting year for the school. They also enjoyed a fantastic unified gym event in partnership with the high school collaborators. It was a wonderful opportunity to build connections, promote inclusivity, and celebrate teamwork across grade levels. Read Across America was truly a dream come true for the Mill Lakers. The fairy tale themed celebration was kicked off with their very own animated self-written story, Frederick the Falcon and the Four Little Pigs of Mill Lake. Students created hallway houses that highlighted leadership, imagination, creativity, and problem solving. Throughout the week, we welcome district and Board of Education members as guest readers, as well as former Woodland students who returned to share lessons with the classes. They were also grateful to the Jamesburg Elks Club for donating both their time and books to support the celebration. The week culminated in the beloved Night of Reading event, where over 350 attendees enjoyed activities such as wand reading, readers theater, fairy tale bingo, and hands-on building project inspired by their story. They concluded the celebration with a special author visit from Sue Fleece, bringing the community together through the joy of reading. They wrapped up the month with a festive St. Patrick's Day fun as students designed leprechaun traps, solved clues, and celebrated together.
Now moving on to the Woodland Elementary School. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Special guests from the Monroe Township Mayor and Council's Office, Board of Education, and District Supervisors visited the school and read to the students in celebration of Read Across America. In addition, they had middle school students visit to read to their students, and then their students visited to Mill Lake to read to their students. Additionally, Read Across America activities included Sue Felice, children's author, visiting coordinated by the Woodland Mill Lake PTO and School Elastic Assembly coordinated by Miss Bianco and Miss Cernerbush. The unified students participated in the school's spring event by creating 3D blooming to go along with their school theme, We Grow at Woodland. Students also engaged in gym activities where they practiced teamwork and rotated leadership roles. They celebrated Wellness Week this month as well, where their committees collaborated with the leadership of food services to create activities and spirit days that promote wellness. Their committee and Mets Food Services provided a food tasting opportunity each day for the students and staff during Wellness Week, exposing the community to healthy options to support a healthy lifestyle.
And now moving on to Barkley Brook Elementary School. Barkley Brook celebrated Read Across America Week in the beginning of March with a week of themed school spirit days. The week began with a school-wide reading train where all students joined in for school-wide DEAR, drop everything and read. And students wore clothes that represented different Dr. Seuss books throughout the week. During Read Across America Week, they were excited to welcome MTHS's NEHS students as guest readers in their classrooms. They thank every one of the wonderful MTHS students who came to visit them. Additionally, each class was scheduled for a battle of the books in the library where they had to answer questions about each of these stories. The students received points for each correct answer, and the battles were very close. Classes battled each other in a bracket-style competition. It was a fun week celebrating literacy. Barkley Brook School recognized and celebrated Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in March. Students were invited to participate in a week of school spirit days beginning on March 19th, and it will continue through Monday, April 6th.
Now moving on to the Brookside Elementary School. Parent and teacher conferences took place on February 18th and February 19th. They had a great turnout. Brookside also participated in the Middlesex County Replenish Food Drive where they collected almost 25 bins of food. They celebrated Read Across America Week. Students from the MTHS National Honor Society and guests from the Jamesburg Elks Club visited Brookside to read to the students. Also, their March Madness book tournament is coming to an end, where they are down to their final 2 books. They also had an author's visit on Monday, March 23rd. Elish Broach, who has written more than 20 books for young readers, visited Brookside and read to the students. And the PTA Book Fair takes place today and tomorrow.
And now moving on to Oak Tree Elementary School. From March 2nd to the 6th, Oak Tree celebrated Read Across America with different theme days all week, and buddy reading took place between grades. The Jamesburg Elks and their own staff were guest readers. The week ended with their traditional school-wide reading training. Students took the oath of reading, and the entire school read together at the same time. On March 10th and the 18th, first and second grade students with their parents were invited to their STEAM lab events. They were able to explore all the different activities available in their STEAM lab, including coding, Autobots, and building materials of all kinds. On March 18th, One Book, One School happened. The principal read the same text to the entire student body throughout the day. Activities were planned for after each reading. One of the goals this year is developing executive function skills for their students, and each book chosen focuses on one of those elements for success. From March 23rd to the 27th, which is this week, was Mindfulness Week at Oak Tree. Students were able to participate in a Zoo-tastic Zen Week, and where each day was a different animal-themed activity that focused on the mindful skills that we practice each day during their morning announcements and meetings. On March 27th, the month of March will end with their third grade students participating in their annual March Madness basketball tournament.
Now moving on to Applegarth Elementary School. To celebrate reading, they had a book swap, a variety of guest readers from Read Across America, and a Battle of the Books competition. They had their annual mass reader competition. A variety of staff members dress in costume and share stories with the class. The students have to guess which staff member was the mass reader. Their club code showcase was held on March 2nd at the high school. The principal's book club members for March discussed Inside Out and Back Again on March 3rd. The students participated in a variety of marker space challenge days filled with a variety of different coding activities. Students are currently in a school-wide March Madness basketball tournament. The children research a college and make a multimedia presentation in physical education class, and then participate as their team in the basketball tournament in physical education. Applegarth celebrated Wellness Week, an annual celebration of physical and mental wellness. Wellness activities were done in classrooms, and the students had a visit from the NJ Department of Agriculture, and METS partnered with them to hold an I Tried It activity, during which students got to sample healthy foods. An after-school yoga class was offered by Stephanie at Food Services as well. Their PTA book fair is being held on the 25th of March and the 26th of March, and a school store on March 10th, and a trivia night was held on March 20th. Their 5th grade students took their GO-GATS last week. And lastly, Applegarth continues to run an after-school chess club and are currently working with high school students who are participating in a public speaking program, and another group who is presenting scientific issues and having students debate on them.
And now moving on to our middle school. They're excited to share that another Code Zero robotics team has qualified for the VEX State Championship on March 1st. Congratulations to Team Blue Pins, who earned their spot thanks to their elite ranking in driving skills. Now, both Team Anomaly and Team Blue Pins will represent our district at the state championship on Sunday, March 15th. On March 3rd, MTMS held its annual Honor Society induction. Dr. Lehman and all of our Honor Society parents were in attendance. Congratulations to the hardworking students. Monroe Township Middle School is proud to announce that under the coordination of physical education teacher Misty Drake and the rest of her department, the MTMS Hoops for Heart event could not have been as successful as it was without their dedicated professionals. The students, staff, and administrators helped in making this day a huge success, so the school thanks you. They raised an outstanding amount this year, totaling over $34,000, their highest amount ever raised. And this makes MTMS one of the top donors in the nation. They would like to share the good news that Nitya Thamaman was selected as one of the finalists for the National Spelling Bee. The prize money for the winner of this is $100,000. We would also like to share that Nitya has been selected as the youngest delegate in the 70-year history of the UN Commission on the Status of Women. She visited the UN during the week of March 9th and met all of the world leaders. On March 18th, MTMS held its quarterly Student of the Month breakfast, celebrating the winners of December, January, and February. Parents and staff joined them as they celebrated the students.
Now moving on to the Monroe Township High School. This month, hundreds of students at MTHS were invited to participate in the state conferences for both DECA and Future Business Leaders of America. From these students, numerous teams and individuals had advanced to both the international and national level to represent Monroe Township High School. Respectively, MTHS is extremely proud of all participants and advances, wishing them the best of luck. The National English Honor Society, led under the guidance of Mrs. DeMarco, spent time reading to the students of Brookside and Barclay Brook Elementary Schools for their Read Across America. All of the students participating love their experiences and look forward to similar opportunities. Mrs. Jen Solomon was named the Future Business Leader of America Outstanding Local Chapter Advisor of the Year at the state competition. Dakota Benatti qualified and competed in the USA Shooting Junior Olympics in Colorado Springs. Additionally, Tristan Muniz was recognized for receiving all conference honors in ice hockey. Piano student Alexander Boutrous earned the Grand Prix top rating at the Rising Talents Music Festival, where he was invited to perform at Carnegie Hall. The MTHS Drama Club will present its production of Grease from April 17th in the PAC. So all these like pink flyers right here, that's just them. The MTHS talent show is scheduled for April 21st. Students interested in performing must submit their audition forms by March 27th. The deadline for the class of 2027 to purchase prom tickets and their paperwork via GoFan was extended to April 10th. And that wraps up our student board members' report.
I just want to thank you both for always bringing thorough reports on our district schools to these meetings. It's really very in-depth and informational to all of us. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have presentations. We're going to make a presentation on the tentative 26-27 school budget.
Sure, thank you. I will start the presentation. So this is our 26-27 tentative budget presentation. I just want to start with a thank you to all of the key players that were involved in developing the budget. It starts with our administrators, all the teachers that put in their requests, funnels its way up through central office, and the board as well for your support. So here's the Board of Education. We thank you. This is our Finance Committee as well, so our continued work. I know we've had discussions throughout the year regarding healthcare costs and our concerns surrounding that, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. Our mission and vision, as always, you know, the mission for the district is to collaborate with members of the community to ensure that all children receive the exemplary education and by well-trained, committed staff in a safe and orderly environment. So here's some key budget timelines. We started the process, as we always do, in the fall. Specifically, in November this year, we brought the teams together to do some preliminary budget discussions. We had planned out curriculum that needed to be addressed, big purchases that we potentially would consider in the budget. We start with that process and we go through defense rounds. We received our state aid numbers on March 12th. That was a delayed release relating to the appointment of a new governor and her adjusted state of the state address in terms of releasing the school state aid. It brings us to today, the 25th, where we're going to do our preliminary budget. We had an opportunity earlier this week to meet in small groups, non-quorum small groups with board members to share preliminary budget information. And we look forward to April 27th, the official budget hearing and approval of a budget for us for next year. So some key budgetary considerations, and I'm going to spend a little time in this slide and dig a little deeper than what's up here. The first consideration we had, or one of the considerations, this isn't in priority order, these are just examples of what we were considering, was to integrate a full-day kindergarten program. Each year we look at New Jersey student learning standards. We want to maintain our updated resources, updated documents, make sure our students are learning what they're required to be learning as determined by the Department of Education. We had a focus on maintaining all of our programs this year. That was a tremendous focus, as well as an eye on our student-teacher ratio. That's another thing we manage each year, and we do that annually by assessing potential sections in terms of growth and or decline. And then another focus this year, and it's continuing for many years, is our aging facilities. And we've discussed for some time about the ESIP program, and you'll see this year in the budget we're making a continued focus on addressing our aging facilities. One thing I want to dig a little deeper in is the kindergarten program. So as I mentioned in the curriculum committee meeting, and I've mentioned along the way, we have been going through the budgetary process, embedding the full-day kindergarten process in there. And we sit here today with it embedded in the budget. So some of the questions were, how much does it exactly cost? And as we know, we have a half-day kindergarten program. So what I'm going to share with you next are the increased expenses directly related to expanding it to a full-day program. So I'm proud to share that we do not have any additional full-time equivalent expenses for FTEs in terms of teachers. And that's a reflection of our enrollment. So our enrollment has declined. We're nearly 300 students lower across the district than we were this time last year, and we've seen that in our state aid, and Ms. Allen will speak to that as she gets into her part of the presentation. Where that hurts us in terms of consistent state aid, as it's paid out per pupil, that does help us in terms of regaining space in buildings, as well as being able to reallocate and reassign staffing. And that's what we will end up doing to support the full-day kindergarten program. We do not need to add a new full-time equivalent teacher that doesn't exist in our budget this year, the current school year, for next year. And as we projected 4 or 5 years ago, that was one of the most significant costs. And what we didn't see was where we are today, nearly 300 students down just over last year, close to 500 students down in the past couple of years. So that is something that, a major hurdle in addition to space that we had to get over. Here are some expenses that we will incur, and I'll share where they're embedded. So for next year, we have approximately $46,000 that we're allocating towards additional teacher guides, additional student work texts, and textbooks. So that is embedded in our normal textbook adoption process. We have a consistent number that we keep in the budget. Again, when we talk about budgeting, it's a consistent year-over-year piece where one year we do math, the next year we do language arts, then we do a science adoption. So those textbook costs relative to kindergarten are embedded in our textbook adoption process this year. That's $46,000. In terms of classroom supplies, that's $28,000, and that includes not just supplies, but if there's an additional chair that they need, smaller chairs, if there's some additional tables, but also classroom supplies like rugs, easels, and things like that. So that's $28,000 to support the new sections that we're bringing out. And then the last piece is the non-certificated staffing. So that's the paraprofessional staff. So we'll have more students eating lunch at the same time, so we need more supervision and more support in the classrooms. And that is budgeted for $66,000. And that would cover the paraprofessional costs associated with, again, lunch coverage and any support in the classrooms. Another piece that we went through the budgeting process with was transportation. And we will be realizing savings with transportation because we're not running 2 extra runs in the middle of the day, the dropping off of the morning kindergarten and the picking up of the afternoon kindergarten. So when we simulated that out in the transportation department, we are realizing a savings. And that savings is very similar, almost exactly the same, projected to be what we would potentially lose in terms of a revenue loss from the elimination of ECE. So if we have full day K, we no longer need our extended wraparound kindergarten program. And last year, our audited number, which we presented a month or 2 ago, was $140,000. That's how much we transferred over from the ECE fund into our general fund. And the transportation savings align almost exactly to that. So I know there was some discussion about if we eliminate ECE, how much of a hit are we going to take? Again, you asked us that question 5 years ago. You asked us that question pre-COVID. We're talking $500,000, $600,000, much, much larger numbers. It has consistently decreased, and last year specifically was $140,000. And those are the numbers in terms of what it looks like additional costs from what we are already paying to operate a kindergarten program. Again, what does it look like in terms of class sizes? And we talked a little bit about programming and things in the curriculum meeting. Our class sizes are projected to be at 20 students in kindergarten. Our class sizes in first grade next year are projected to be at 20 students. Our class sizes in second grade are projected to be at 21 students. Our class sizes in third grade are projected to be at 22, fourth grade 23, and fifth grade 24. Now, there will be some fluctuation based on special programs that are assigned, and you see a variance, a range in every building. But across the district, that's what our enrollment's looking like. So by moving staff around to be able to facilitate this program, we are not compromising class sizes. We're not compromising the integrity of the programs at the elementary level across the board. So I wanted to highlight that regarding full day K. The next piece I wanted to highlight is actually on the next slide. This is the the issue we've been dealing with since the beginning of the school year. And this is our healthcare costs. So what we have up here are a few different sections of this slide. The top section shows the change between the 23-24 school year and the 26-27 school year in terms of premium cost for medical and prescription. So we went from $24,600,000 to $39,300,000. The line below that says total cost and followed by the years is the annual breakdown as we make our way towards that $39 million number. So we start at $24,600,000, we go to 26.2, 30,500,000, and 39.3. That is the growth, about 60% growth since 23-24. And what we decided to do to show you an example of a plan in our healthcare plan is pick out a single and a family. This is our Direct 10 and our Direct 15 plan, and show you the actual annual cost per plan. And this is, again, premiums for healthcare and prescription. Take you from 23-24 all the way to 26-27. As a family in 23-24, the cost of that premium was $44,706. 24-25, we're at $54,700. 25-26, we're at $73,500, and projected to be at $84,900 for next year in these for these plans. Now, there are other plans. These plans are for employees that were hired pre-2020. Anyone hired after 2020 will be in the New Jersey State Educators Health Plan. Those plans have a lower premium, but growth is certainly similar to this. We just wanted to give you one example of one of our plans. We have employees currently in these plans. They had two opportunities this year to switch plans. If you are in the New Jersey State Educator Health Plan and you were hired past or since 2020, you could not choose this plan. You can only stay in the plan you're in. But if you're already in this plan and you wanted to go down to the lower premium plan, you could do that, and we certainly had many staff members choose to do so. And getting into the healthcare discussion, there are pros and cons for both, but we just wanted to show you an example of what we were looking at in terms of healthcare, and this really demonstrates the crisis that we have. And this is not a Monroe Township crisis specifically. This is across districts in the state. This is across private employers. This is across the entire country. So this is what it looks like here in your community. This is what it looks like in your school district. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Allen.
Okay, so first and foremost, the budget process takes many months to complete with a great deal of teamwork. So I want to thank everyone involved in this process. A very special thanks to Ms. Vasnifa Rupa and Ms. Nancy Tagliaferro for their tremendous help along with the support of the entire business office. The supervisors, principals, and directors spend an incredible amount of time and effort to make this budget work while maintaining the high standards of this district. And thank you to the board for your support. I know we normally do this at the end, but I think it's important to do this at the beginning. So moving on, I want to mention that the school budget includes the general fund, the special revenue fund, and the debt service fund as per NJDOE budget guidelines. So enterprise funds and capital project funds are not considered budgetary funds and accordingly are not included as per the DOE. So the general fund includes our operating fund for current expenses as well as capital outlay, and both which are supported by current revenues. The special revenue fund is where we account for specific revenue sources that are legally restricted to expenditures for specified purposes, and included here would be our federal and state grants. The debt service fund accounts for the resources for in the payment of long-term principal and interest on prior bond referendums which were voter approved. Revenue sources are the debt service portion of the tax levy and the state aid. So where does the money come from? So the local tax levy represents 85% of our total revenue and includes both the general fund and the debt service tax levy. State aid is our second largest source of revenue at a modest 7% and includes general and debt service fund. Fund balance represents 3%. 2% is derived from tuition revenue, which includes tuition from both Jamesburg and our enrichment programs. Federal aid, miscellaneous revenue, transfer from other funds, and transportation fees represent 1% of total revenues. So the next slide shows the general fund tax levy for 26-27. So we are allowed to grow our general fund tax levy by 2% each year, plus any allowable adjustments. It's important to note that the 2% increase applies to the tax levy only and not the entire budget. The 25-26 general fund tax levy inflated by 2% is $127.6 million. There is an allowable adjustment to our general fund tax levy for the increase in health care costs of $7.9 million. The health care adjustment, which is automatically calculated in the DOE budget software, applies to districts with a projected increase in health care costs that exceed 2% in the pre-budget year. So the DOE calculated allowable adjustment cannot exceed the average percentage increase of the state health benefit plan, as determined annually by the Division of Pensions and Benefits, which is 29.9% for 26-27. The state health benefit premium increase for 26 is 31.9%. So the increase above 2% up to 29.9% results in an adjustment for health care costs. So the total general fund tax levy cap with health care adjustment is $135.6 million. And as Dr. Lehman had mentioned, healthcare has become a major budgeting concern for everyone. The increase in the state plan rates for 2026, along with the projected increases for the next several years, are simply unsustainable. So the next slide shows the general fund state aid award comparison between the 2 years. So we received our 26-27 state aid award on March 12th, totaling $11.9 million, as compared to the prior year of $12.3 million. So this reflects a 3% reduction in our categorical aid amounting to $369,000. The DOE increased all major cost factors, including base cost per pupil, special education cost per pupil, special education speech-only cost per pupil, special education categorical aid, security aid, and transportation aid per pupil, and mileage rates. So why was there a decrease in our state aid? Strictly because of our declining enrollment. Had our enrollment remained the same as the prior year, using the increased DOE rates, we would have seen an increase in our state aid of $461,000 instead of a $369,000 decrease, and that is a swing of $830,000. It's important to note that our decrease was capped at 3%. Had it not been, we would have seen an additional decrease of $19,000. So just to do a quick overview of this. So transportation aid decreased by $329,000 to $3.8 million. This calculation is based on actual number of transported students as reported on the DRTRS, which shows a decrease from the prior year. So as I mentioned, the cost coefficients for the per pupil base amount and mileage amounts used in the state formulas increased 3.58%. So transportation aid is comprised of two calculations. Basically, one is for regular education and one is for special education. And it takes into account the number of students being transported, multiplied by a base per pupil amount, as well as a base mileage rate multiplied by average distance. Security aid increased by $20,000 to $985,000. Security aid is based on a projected enrollment as calculated by the DOE multiplied by a per pupil amount. There is an additional amount added for low income enrollment, which is actually the only component of state aid where we saw an increase amounting to $40,000. Special education aid, our largest amount, which is based on projected enrollment, decreased by $60,000. It's important to note that while our total special education population may show a decline, our out-of-district students remain steady. The equalization aid formula has changed to a 3-year average, but does not apply to us. The calculated local fair share, which is based on district property values and income, is $192 million versus our adequacy budget of $121 million. So you can see there's a wide gap there of $70 million. So next is a separate schedule, Schedule A, sources of revenues combined. And this schedule details the sources of revenue for both the budgeted 26-27 school year as well as the current 25-26 school year as adjusted for comparison purposes. So regarding revenues, we must be comfortable and certain of our projected revenues to cover our expenditures. Overstating revenue that we are not comfortable with while paying actual expenditures will lead to a deficit. Looking at fund balance, we have a greater excess surplus in the amount of $6.7 million to include as a revenue source. Excess surplus from the 24-25 school year is certified by the auditor and is statutorily required to be included as a revenue source in the 26-27 budget. So what is excess surplus? A district is only permitted to designate a maximum of 2% of general fund expenditures, as adjusted, as unassigned, undesignated, unreserved fund balance. Any excess that is not otherwise legally restricted, assigned, or designated is considered to be excess surplus and must be included as a revenue source in our 26-27 budget. Next, we have transfers from other funds, which represents the anticipated Falcon Care excess in the amount of $25,000. So for 26-27, we are, as Dr. Lehman mentioned, we are anticipating the implementation of full-day kindergarten, which eliminates the need for the ECE program that has been in place for several years now, and the transfer of surplus from the ECE program has been a declining revenue source in our budget over the years. So we've already discussed the general fund tax levy. So other revenue consists of tuition, transportation fees, and miscellaneous revenue. Tuition from Jamesburg is budgeted at $4.3 million. Enrichment programs are budgeted at $220,000 and include summer programs as well as after-school programs. Transportation fees from Jamesburg are budgeted at $256,000 as calculated and certified on the DRTRS, reported to the DOE. Miscellaneous revenues consist of interest income, use of building fees, integrated pre-K tuition, athletic admissions, et cetera, and are budgeted at $850,000. So we talked about state aid. We received an additional $500,000 for 25-26 that was allocated from the state budget that we cannot anticipate for 26-27. And extraordinary aid is budgeted at $397,000. Federal aid, which consists of semi-reimbursements, has increased from $16,000 to $77,000. And this amount is provided to us from the DOE. This federal program reimburses districts a portion of the cost of certain Medicaid-covered services provided to Medicaid-eligible special education students. So total revenues for 26-27 are budgeted at $160.4 million. Special Revenue Fund consists of federal and state grants awarded, as mentioned. We have been advised by the DOE to conservatively budget 75% of the current year award due to uncertainty in federal funding. This amounts to $1.2 million. The majority of our grant funding is for IDEA, which we use for out-of-district tuition. The other grant funds we receive every year are the title funds. And there are two categories shown here: awards in the budget year and carryover carryovers from prior years. Carryovers from prior years are grants that were awarded in 24-25, but were not fully spent that year and carried into 25-26. So we appropriately budget based on awards in the budget year. So it should be noted that we only spend what we get. If our grant award comes in less than we anticipated, we would spend less. And if it was more, then we would spend more, under that grant program. And debt service funds consists of debt service tax levy in the amount of $10.9 million and debt service state aid in the amount of $280,000. As mentioned, these funds are used strictly for the payment of bond principal and interest from previous bond referendums and refundings. So total revenue, including general fund, special fund, and debt service fund, is budgeted at $172.9 million for 26-27. The next slide is where does the money go? So 49% of the budget is for direct instructional costs, regular education, special education, related services, and tuition, not including benefits allocated to the instructional staff. Benefits for all staff are shown separately and amount to 25% of the budget. Benefits include dental, health, vision insurance, PERS employer pension contributions, Social Security contributions, workers' compensation insurance, tuition reimbursements, opt-out payments, sick payments, payouts, etc. 8% of our budget goes to facilities, which includes required maintenance for school facilities, custodial services, care and upkeep of grounds, and security. Debt service at 7% represents the payment of principal and interest on our bonds. And transportation costs represent 6%, etc. Next is Schedule B, which is a separate handout, which shows the comparison of appropriations. And I'll just run through some of the highlights. Under the regular programs instruction, you'll see other salaries for instruction have increased 21%, and that is really due to the full-day kindergarten, the extra hours that they would be spending in the classroom, the paraprofessionals. Another other purchase services under 3 lines under that is increasing by 14%. That includes district technology license fees and software, the iPad lease payment, which this year, current year, included the first of 4 payments, 4-year payments offset by the sale of the old iPads. The lease purchase payments for instructional equipment are here and includes textbooks, furniture, instruments, technology equipment, copiers, library books, etc. Also, the difference between this year and last year, or for the next year, is the trailer rental for half the year, which was included in this budget in this year and is eliminated for next year, as well as the trailer removal fee, which is a one-time expense for 25-26. So the next section, special education instruction, which is driven by student needs. At this time, we are reviewing some programs, and you'll see that under the preschool disability section, we are reviewing programs, and we may be able to consolidate based on enrollment. So that's why you see that big change there. There's an increase of 133% under autism general supplies, and that is because we are looking at a new classroom possibly for autism. Most of these other line items are pretty consistent. They haven't changed too much. Some of the other ones. So summer enrichment and after-school enrichment, we're just basically budgeting on what the revenue we have received for this year. And these are like self-sustaining programs, so if we do receive more revenue, that would be spent on those programs. Tuition has increased almost 7% out of district tuition. That's a big chunk. And most of the other line items are pretty close. So educational media services, library, we have supplies and materials which have decreased by 45%. That is because we are, for the first time, lease purchasing library books because they last 15 to 20 years, so we are kind of extending, the life with the cost. I think most of these. So as we go through to operations and maintenance of plant services, for the first time this year, for 26-27, we have the ESIP program, and for the first time, we show the interest and principal amounts that are due on that debt, that refunding debt. And that program, as we know, was set up so that the savings every year would cover the principal and interest payments. So you will see a decrease in some of these line items because of that, because of what has been put into place with this ESIP program. We can make these payments. Insurance, across the board is up at least 12% in the different areas. And as everybody knows, we are looking at, as everybody else is, a 25% increase in electricity costs, as well as an increase in natural gas costs. And that is reflected here as well. Transportation, as Dr. Lehman, there are some savings now. There will be some savings due to the full-day kindergarten program. So that is reflected in that section. Benefits, as we know, are up. The employee benefits are up quite a bit. Capital outlays. So this year we have a program. We have a capital project in the budget for mechanical upgrades at 3 of the elementary schools, Barkley Brook, Brookside, and Mill Lake included. And we also have been able to establish or increase our capital reserve fund. So our capital reserve fund presently is, I think, $23,000. So we have a $2,092,000 increase in our capital reserve. And that is something that, due to the age, our aging facilities, is very important, for the safety of the students and the staff, and for the efficiency of the buildings. So that is something that, once we put it in there, we can, as projects, if something comes up that we need it for, we can go to the board and ask for approval to do a specific project. But it's there if we need it, instead of, as has happened, things break down, they're big expenses, and we have to just try to find it in our budget and take something else out. So this is a good thing to have going forward. Let's see, so in summary, total appropriations are budgeted to increase by 7.76%, or 12.4 million. The next slide shows the tax rate impact. So without the healthcare adjustment, there would be a 2.19% increase to the tax rate, or $113 on an average assessed valuation of $336,800. The tax rate increase on just the healthcare adjustment alone is 2.98%, or $152 on an average assessed home. The total combined tax rate is 5.14%, or just about $265. Let me see. So the tax rate is based on ratables and tax levy. The ratables have increased 0.61% this year. Last year, the ratables increased 0.91%. The year before that, the increase was 3.04%, which is 5 times the increase this year. So the rateable increase was 500% higher 3 years ago, and that makes a big difference in the tax rate. So, in summary, did you want to? Okay. We are proposing a budget that maintains all existing programs with no staff cuts and provides for the implementation of full-day kindergarten and includes an increase to our capital reserve fund, as well as a project to upgrade the mechanical systems at Barkley Brook, Brookside, and Mill Lake. It includes 3 new school buses, technology equipment, classroom furniture, textbooks, a maintenance vehicle, etc. All contractual salary and benefit obligations, the safety of students and staff. We're maintaining current programs, instructional resources, our staff development, or professional development. We're meeting all state and federal special education requirements, and all student transportation, including courtesy busing and athletics. And we are increasing our capital reserve and establishing full-day kindergarten. So, again, thank you to all who contributed to developing this budget.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
You're welcome. Okay.
Ms. Allen, I want to thank you and your whole staff.
Thank you.
The board members must realize how much work that they have done to keep us at these wonderful numbers. So thank you very much for all your time and effort.
Thank you.
Next, we have committee reports on this.
Thank you.
No? Questions and comments?
You could do questions on the budget now. She's going to do the resolution in
Oh,
her.
okay. Any questions and comments on the budget that was just presented? On the board members, yes. Ms. Ratner?
Yeah, so thank you to both of you for all of your hard work and to everyone else, as has been said. Very excited about full-day kindergarten. It's been something I've wanting even before I was a board member, so definitely excited to see it to come to fruition. I wanted to thank our ECE staff members because they did work hard for several years to create a program that many of our students, including my 3 kids, had the opportunity to enjoy. One thing I wanted to ask about the state aid calculation, and I don't know if this is something you may have the answer to, is just, from what I recall, because we have had half-day full kindergarten, the students are only weighed as 0.5. Mm-hmm. Are we able to ask the Department of Education to review, or to revisit the aid amount if we are changing to full-day kindergarten?
No, but next year, though, the state aid will, if we had had that this year, the full day, it would have been an extra $14,000 in state aid. So next year, when they do this calculation, it will be in there, but they're not going to go back and change it now, no.
Okay. And then the Jamesburg tuition, don't hit me, Amanda. I know for several years we had the agreement as a result from the court decision that came, and I don't have the decision, but I believe that we were close to finishing it or we finished it.
Yes.
And so I was wondering if that's something that we can look at. I know, if I recall, it was the cost per student to educate, but my thought is because state aid is sort of based on giving each student a particular weight, and certain things create a higher weight, that, it's possible that maybe we're not necessarily getting aid for the students that we're educating because we're looking at it as how much it costs to educate. And I just don't know if there is, maybe when we're looking at shared services, we can look at a way to do that. I obviously don't want to take money out of Jamesburg pocket either, but just to sort of see if there's a way to work with that.
Okay.
As well as possibly, and I think I brought this up at our budget meeting, which I appreciate having, maybe looking at grants, because perhaps if we work together, we might be eligible for certain things for the high school that we wouldn't be just alone as Monroe, because we need a certain requirement of percentage of certain things that we don't necessarily have. And then I just, looking at the Schedule B, one of the ones I had was preschool, and then you said that, so I crossed it off. But the one thing that the one category I saw a fairly large difference in was the plant services. It was $500,000. Is there a reason for that, that
Okay, sorry.
you can share?
Yeah. So, we do, like I said, we do have the increase, 25% increase in electric costs, and we have gas costs that are increasing. Basically, everything else is, the insurance is increasing 12%. And you have the salaries.
I guess, because when I'm looking at it, I'm noticing that the number is going from 2.5 million for the energy costs to 1.8, which I'm assuming may be a result as part of our ESIP projects and
yep.
things like that.
Yep.
But then the overall number is still going up a significant amount. So that's, I guess, where I was curious why we have that. That was really the only other thing that I had seen that was like, I don't even want to say alarming, but just stood out to me a little bit more.
So, although like ESIP is saving us money, there are some, based on how much we use, it's not the dollar, like the rate, right? So the savings that, you're seeing a lot of decreases on some of those line items that are being transferred over to the principal and interest that is due. But really, the insurance is up 61,000, and the salaries are up 213,000, and just those other minor changes that kind of adds that up to that.
Okay, all right. Those were some of my questions. Obviously, I know this is like our preliminary budget, and we have the final one, so we can, obviously, I'll look, and if I have any other questions, I'll certainly reach out to you. But again, thank you guys for your work on this.
And I also, can I just add too, I just realized, the salaries of non-instructional aides, that is for the kindergarten as well. That is for the lunchroom, because it's non-instructional, and that is where that goes. So the lunchroom aides for the full-day kindergarten that's why that amount is up so much.
The ones under the plant services?
Under plant services, salaries of non-instructional aides.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marazine? Oh, I saw his hand up.
So as far as no staff reductions, so we're eliminating a whole program, the ECE. I'm assuming there's staff members that are working that are just ECE programs. Are they getting reassigned, or how's that working?
So that program is dissolving. So in terms of staff reductions, we're looking at our certificated staff within the school district operating budget. ECE operates out of the enterprise fund. So that program will dissolve, and we certainly would consider all those employees and bring them on board for any certificated or any program that they're qualified to do, whether it's a support program or if they have a teaching certificate and they want to transition over to one of our open positions, then they certainly can do that.
Right. So to be clear, right now they would have to just reapply.
Correct. Yep. In terms of other staffing, any changes in sections, any retirements, every year we look at every position, and based on enrollment, based on need, based on program interest, we will rehire that position. We will not fill a position. We will transfer staff from other positions into those roles, and that's what we're looking at this year, doing more than anything.
And then as far as like how ECE is kind of connected to Falcon Care, how would that work? Who's going to like run Falcon Care? Is that getting changed?
So the same team's going to, that's a great question. Same team's going to run Falcon Care. Falcon Care will run the same way it ran this year. We will run it next year. We will see what the enrollment looks like. We anticipate even a potential increase based on having our kindergarten students start and finish at a home school for an entire day, as opposed to transitioning to a secondary location and then coming back. It's a really long day. So we're hoping to even potentially grow that program. And then we will reassess, as we get through the school year to see how that program's operating as well.
Right. So essentially, since the same team is going to be doing, I guess, half the job, or maybe less than half the job? Are we going to utilize them to another way to be more productive?
Yep, so the other vision with that is as we get into full day K implementation, the next step is looking at pre-K, right? And what does that look like for us as a district? I envision that team being involved in that process as well.
Okay, Mr. Pira?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, under school administration, salaries of other professional staff, what is other, I don't know what what is that for? It says like principals, assistant principals, clerical, directors, and then it just says salaries of other professional staff. I don't
Yes.
know what that's for. It's $463,000.
Let me grab that. Sorry. So I think that would include, okay, so that would include the director of athletics, the director of counseling, and the director of pupil personnel.
So they're not under the directors with program, that's different?
No, this is where they go under the chart of accounts.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, anyone else have any questions?
I just wanted to say, I appreciate the fact that we're staying under the 2% cap, and I want the public to understand that the increase is directly related to healthcare costs. People just need to understand that we're maintaining all the same programming that we have this year, and the increase is, like I said, directly related to healthcare.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just wanted to make a comment.
Chris?
I know there's a lot of districts we've been hearing about in the news that have had to close schools, have had to increase their tax rate even higher than what we're looking at or projecting. And I'm glad that we're able to maintain all our programs, and I thank you for all your hard work. Now, I'm sure there's some members or some people in the public who say, wow, 5.14, that's, the most ever. If we were to maintain it at a level that we're used to, what would that look like? How many staff would we lose, or how many would class sizes change if we were to try to maintain it at prior levels of increases? What would that look like? So
is
the public would know.
Is
like,
your
what-
question, what does $7 or $8 million look like out of what's in the budget right now?
Yeah, if we were to cut, or needed to cut something of that size, what would it look like in terms of staff and programs?
I would say it's dangerous to just throw numbers out there.
Yeah.
I would say, looking at a staffing connection with $7 or $8 million, you're probably 80, 90 staff members, assorted administration and teachers. If you're looking at $8 million, I could tell you the regular operating annual expenses from all the elementary schools, the middle school, and the high school don't even come close to that in terms of athletics and things like that. So that digs deep, very, very deep. And $8 million would be tearing the district apart. You wouldn't recognize it after it was gone. Again, that's off the cuff. That is just, there's rough numbers and, but that would not be a situation that I don't think anyone in this community would want to put ourselves in. It would be devastating. We wouldn't recognize it. I think the biggest takeaway, and I'll go off script, the biggest takeaway from this budget is the healthcare costs are out of control. And that's not a Monroe issue. It is a Monroe issue because it's sitting in front of us right now. but that is a systemic issue that we hear about. And when we speak to advocacy, we speak to making a change that makes a difference, a tangible, large difference, whether it's a tax rate, whether it's a private employer and how much they're contributing to their health plan and their employees are contributing to their health plan, there's a ripple effect that getting healthcare under control would feed through our entire community, would feed through our entire state. That would be much appreciated. And the solution for that, we can stand up and we can show the impact it has on our community. We can stand up and communicate the challenges we have. But the change makers are not the ones that are sitting in this room that are making those legislative decisions or making those adjustments, but we can grab their ear and we can talk to them about what this has in terms of an impact.
Yeah. Mr. Tufano?
Well, I'd like to really, I mean, of course, healthcare increase is a huge problem, but the bigger problem is our state funding. We have the new governor. In her hometown, a school is closing because of lack of funding, in her own town. Again, we have no Linda Greenstein comes to see us so we can talk with her about this. The mayor does not get involved. He doesn't shake up Trenton because, I guess he doesn't want to upset his political bosses. But here we have another increase on top of an increase to electric, to our utilities, which is all pretty much caused by the same thing. And I really don't want to get political. I mean, I can, but I don't want to. The problem is we're not getting the funding. We got a reduction of funding. We got an increase in medical. Yes, okay, the students' population is dwindling or dwindled a little bit, but we have an excess of medical coverage. So we should get the funding to help us. And here we are going out to the taxpayers again and asking them to make more sacrifices. And this is an excellent school district. I don't want to see any reductions in the programs we offer. I think it's phenomenal. All my kids went here, and I'm very grateful for the programs and the staff and for your budget, but the problem is we should we should really unite. I mean, you have people going out on Saturday to protest at Stop and Shop for a king that we don't have. But yet, they're not out there fighting to get some additional funding for our students so their tax can go down so they could afford to put the heat on at night. I don't understand how this community is not uniting and fighting the powers that be to get some more funding. This board should be responsible to put together a protest in Trenton, and you're smiling at me because you know I'm telling the truth. A lot of people don't like me for politics. That's fine. This is not about politics. This is about seniors and about families that are struggling to keep their nose above water because we're not getting any funding from Trenton. This is a bipartisan issue, and we are doing very little about it. This board is responsible to get funding, and we're doing nothing about it, really, honestly. We have committees, and you do what you can, but this community as a whole needs to do more, because this cannot be every year we get an increase like this. Before you know it, your property tax is going to be $100,000 a year, because none of this stuff ever goes down, ever. But we're shelling out millions of dollars to the state and getting back peanuts. It's literally peanuts we're getting. Jamesburg gets more funding than us, and they got half the schools. Less than half the schools. And I'm not insulting Jamesburg. I'm just saying you get more funding for less schools.
Can I also make a comment, though? Our Jamesburg tax rate for schools is much higher than Monroe's.
I'm not blaming
So we pay into
you.
our school district at a higher rate than
I'm not
Monroe pays it.
this has nothing to do with Jamesburg itself. I'm saying the
understand,
state
but-
funds Jamesburg schools more than they do Monroe schools. That's
But our
insane.
community pays in more as well,
I
at a higher
agree.
rate.
I
So-
agree. I agree. But that should be, not even for you, it should be happening.
So I was smiling because my wheels were turning and thinking of like ways that we can advocate and listen. There's been plenty of people that have advocated over the years. I've been advocating for several years as well. We were down there last week. It seems like they hear us. Lots of things don't change. It is beyond frustrating. I totally hear you. Like, one of the things that I do, I don't even want to say for fun because that's just weird, but I do watch like some of the other board meetings, right? And so I watched the East Brunswick board meeting, and there was a board member there who was new and equally frustrated, and she's like, we need funding reform, we need consolidation reform, and now we need healthcare reform. And what she said was really true. Like, we do. I completely agree with the things that you're saying. I don't know how, even looking at the issues, it's not even an educational, like, look at the budget type thing. I'm flabbergasted with what we have to deal with, and I think that the way that the schools in New Jersey are funded needs to change. I'm hoping now, maybe for false hope or empty hope, I guess, but we've got a new commissioner who sort of comes from a different area. We have a new chief of staff who's, I learned, lived in East Brunswick, and his parents lived in Rossmore, and was aware of, I don't think they're there anymore, but they were aware of the situation in Monroe, which is more than we've had. I think if we can unite, because a lot of times we're divided, this is something I think everyone can get behind, like taxes are too high, we need more funding, that would be great. I would be happy to try to figure out a way to do that, and anybody who would like to do it, that's all listen, we can only do so much.
I understand that you're working very hard. I appreciate it. But I've been on this board for many years, and I hear the same stuff every single year. We're not doing enough. Whatever we're doing is not enough. And it's not that we're not doing enough. Our elected officials are not doing enough. Our senators are not doing enough. Nobody's doing enough because nobody puts their feet to the fire. Greenstein should be sitting right there so that these people that are sitting behind her could ask why we're having to spend all this money and not getting any funding. We as a board should be able to interrogate her and say, why aren't you fighting for us to get more money? She's never, in all the years I'm here, ever been at a board meeting, ever. The mayor has never once sat out there in the audience to listen to any of this. Okay, the only council member that ever shows up here, ever, is Charlie DePiero. He's the only one that shows up here. The rest of the council, you won't see them driving even past this school. They make the left before they have to get to the council meeting. It's just insane. We need our elected officials and our senators and our congresspeople to help us. We need help, and everybody's ignoring us. And we're not being loud enough. We're not. Maybe we're all trying to be civil. We're not trying to upset the dragon, but the dragon's dragging us into the ground. We have to make more waves. We have to.
Everything you say is true. But I think, Ms. Ratner, why don't you tell everybody what you're doing with the Citizens Advisory Committee and the letter writing and the advocacy that we're trying to do to help this district? Do you think that would be a small part
right,
of it?
so really more with LACE now, because
Right.
we're doing Portrait of a Graduate, which
Right,
I'll
but
discuss
still.
later, but, we are writing the letters, to your point, which we discussed last month. We need to start doing more one-on-ones.
Right.
Listen, I agree, like, if our elected officials aren't aware of our problems by now, I don't really know what to do, right? I'm pretty sure we've made it very apparent what we're dealing with. I think one thing, and again, it's not going to make a huge difference in what we're dealing with, right? When we went down there last week, I brought up the senior stabilization aid, which, there was someone there whose district is very affected by it, and he knew the issues with it. And so that's something that could help us, but even then, we get an extra $500 per student. That's not making the dent to bring us down the amount that we need, right? There's so many things. Could we take a closer look at our budget, try to find ways to save here and there? Sure. It's frustrating. I really do get it. And it's not our school administration. It hasn't been our school administration, right? It's an issue that we're going to need to come up with a solution. We could make that noise, and I think having a rally down there and, getting Monroe residents, maybe we can get someone to sponsor the bus. I know we've discussed that before, or just having a group of cars drive down there, I think is a fantastic idea. We can definitely look into doing that. Or maybe working with other districts that are dealing with the same, because this is all over. And eventually, if the whole state's revolting, something has to change. So I definitely, I hear you, I wish I could fix it, I really do. I just don't know what else to do as a board member.
I think we all feel that way. I mean, since 2008, that state funding formula has been present. So we've been suffering since 2008, which is not right. And I was reading some articles about different districts and how people are saying, well, just make it the same amount across the board for the state. Don't give certain districts, because of certain situations that somebody mentioned to me, where she campaigned. Maybe they got a little bit more. Yeah, maybe they got a little bit more. Make it flat across the state. Everybody gets the same amount, but nobody wants to get that. Since 2008, that's a long time to have, like Mr. Tufano said, to have somebody ignore. And how much can we say? Go down there and they say, well, bring papers and state what you need in your district. And I think during your testimony, the gentleman that asked you quite a few questions, and he said, well, did you bring your paperwork? Well, of course, Ms. Ratner had all the paperwork with her and all the documentation, because that's their one main thing. They don't want us to tell them, oh, we need $5,000. We have to list 5,000 and the 4 or 5 things next to it.
I asked for $22 million, just in case you're wondering.
Right. But I'm saying they want a list. They don't want to do anything. They want us to do everything. Bring it to them and then probably deny it. So, I mean, my.
But I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we do need to do something.
Oh,
We need
yeah.
to vote out the people who are not giving us funding. Instead, collectively, apparently, we're voting for the same people over and over again every year that give us scraps. Greenstein gives us scraps. She fights for us 0, and yet gets elected every year. I don't understand it.
Could I,
Well, we don't have, excuse me?
could I just ask a
Yes, Mr.
question
Pirro,
with the
please.
funding? So we lost money. Does that mean we lost money per student compared to last year? No. Like, what did we get last year per student compared to this year? Are we losing per
No,
student?
so it went up per student, but because we have less students, that's why we lost money.
But the price per student went up?
Yes, the DOE raised all the amounts, per
So-
student amounts, but we just have less enrollment, so that's why.
Okay.
Yep.
And then my other question is, if we have a reduction in students, are we having a reduction other than teachers and educators, or do we need all the, like, is there a reduction in any staff? Since if we're down 500 people, I mean, that's a lot of people. Is there any reduction in staff with that?
Dr. Lehman?
So things have systemically, over the past couple of years, been reducing proportionally. So if we have a child study team member that retires and the workload of that team doesn't justify supporting a replacement of that staff member, then we don't replace that staff member. So yes, across the board, we monitor those numbers. Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for the lively discussion. Again, thank you, Ms. Allen, Dr. Lehman. And we'll proceed now for committee reports. Mr. Pirro?
Building and Grounds Committee, we met last week, and we discussed the projects with the ESAP, what's being complete. The lighting's almost done. The chillers and boilers are ahead of schedule. Also, the solar, as soon as it is approved totally by the state, we're going to move forward with the solar on all the schools and in the parking lot here. There was a question about the facade at Mill Lake School. It was brought to our attention. Mr. Tague and Mr. Lehman, we met and talked about it. There was an issue where I heard that the PTA was going to pay the power washer clean the school, and I don't think that's right. I think the money they collect for kids should go to kids. And we had a discussion at Building and Grounds, and Mr. Tague said that during the break, his team will try to do some power washing at school to try to clean it and see what we could do. The part that's discolored, it's not mold, he said, it's just discolored, it's oxidation in the metal. Those pieces were going to be removed if we did the roof, but last year we took the roof out of the budget. So we're going to do our best to try to make it look better and see where it goes after they do this, and then we'll revisit it if there's no changes. Transportation is still working on the bus app for students. They moved it to the middle school, and they're working now with that, and then we're going to get a report next month on how the bus app's working.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Shapiro? Yes.
I wanted to thank you for bringing up the Mill Lake issue and that it's getting addressed. I guess, do we have a schedule? I know we have a schedule of maintenance of a lot of things from terms of our facilities. Do we have a schedule of the maintenance of the exteriors of our facilities, similar to what we would have for HVAC or things like that, where I believe we have like a schedule to address those?
I think they're addressed as they come up. Mr. Tague notified us that they did attempt cleaning in the past, and it was not very effective just because of the type of equipment we have. We have residential style power washers and things. They're going to try a new technique. They're going to try a different way to do it. Again, if it's not effective, we will pivot and take another look at potential other options to spruce it up a little bit. But the core of the issue here is, that roof is imminent. It will be done sooner than later, and to really dig into that project for tens of thousands of dollars for an entire exterior, upgrade, it's something that will be addressed when the roof is done. So the goal is to beautify it, clean it. We can take a look at, even if we need to, do some touch-up paint or something like that, and then hold it down until we do the roof there.
Committee reports, Ms. Ratner?
I have 3. I'll make them fast. So the policy committee met on March 16th. Board of Education members present were myself, Ms. Forrest, Mr. Marazine, and Ms. DePayne. The district administration was represented by Dr. Lehman. Our policy meeting was again primarily dictated by the policy wellness check that's provided by Strauss Esme. This month we covered the 3,000, which covers teaching staff, and the 4,000, which is support staff. There are multiple policies on the agenda for first and second read. Most of the ones under first read are very small changes, such as a policy name change. There is one new policy which we learned that we did not have, which is P4438, which is for jury duty. Which is the way that we handle if somebody has jury duty, what we provide or ask them to provide. There's also 2 policies on the agenda to be abolished, which are R3223.1 and R3223.2. The evaluation of tenured and non-tenured administrators. These are now covered by another policy.
Was that all for policy?
Yes.
Any questions for Ms. Ratner? Okay.
I'll keep going. All right, next is the Citizens Advisory Committee. I'm really excited to share that our Citizens Advisory Committee finally reconvened after a few months off. The members of this committee are the same as last. It's myself, Ms. Forrest, Ms. Sharma, and Ms. DePayne. The district administration was represented by Dr. Lehman. We also had several of our CAC committee members in attendance. The topic that was discussed was the portrait of a graduate. This is something that I was very excited about when we learned about, and I'm excited to see it continue. It's a part of our 5-year strategic plan. The district administration has reached a step where a steering committee representing the community needs to be formed. So this was brought to our CAC committee, which has a diverse representation of our community, including parents, representatives from Jamesburg, as well as our senior community. At this meeting, Dr. Lehman and our staff professional development coordinator, Sherry Fatovic, provided a presentation about what the portrait of a graduate is and what we've done so far and what we need to do. Mr. Meralda had shared via email several websites from a few other districts that have participated in this program. And the committee members were also tasked with reviewing a draft of a survey that I believe will be sent to the community very shortly, where the community members can provide what they believe are the qualities and skills that they feel every student who graduates from Monroe should possess.
You finished with that? Any questions for Ms. Ratner on that committee? Okay, go ahead.
All right, last one. Legislative Advocacy and Community Engagement Committee met on March 16th. It was the same members that were from the other committee. We reviewed the materials from the March 2026 Legislative Committee meeting with school boards. This included updates on several pieces of legislation. I also had shared some updates from that meeting, which included a discussion with Chris Williams, who I sort of mentioned during our budget discussion is the new Chief of Staff for the Department of Education. One thing that I think might help us is that the people who created the formula are no longer the people in charge of the Department of Education, and they agreed that it needs to be looked at. Again, hope, right? Like, hope for the best, prepare for the worst kind of thing. We also briefly review the Delivering a Strong Education for New Jersey Action Team report, which was a committee from the governor that had different educational leaders from throughout the state, where they discussed important priorities throughout the state that they need to be prioritized over the next several years. Finally, we discussed the state budget hearings and possible sample testimony ideas. I actually feel like somehow they've made the timeline shorter for the budget testimonies. I didn't think it was possible, but here we are and they're almost done. And so I am pleased to share that last week, Ms. Forrest and I had traveled to Trenton and testified before the Assembly Budget Committee. I appreciated that they had asked us several questions, mostly about the senior supplemental aid, as well as one thing that I really enjoyed was they had asked if we are over adequate, and I had to sort of define, like, we are, but like adequacy doesn't include full day kindergarten. Like, adequacy doesn't include a lot of things that you would expect it would, because I don't know, maybe Mr. Weiss, maybe you know, but there's nowhere I can find, or someone from the Department of Education has shared at our legislative committee meetings, what a thorough and efficient education is, like spelled out, right? So I actually tasked the Assembly Education Committee Chair with doing that, and she's like nodding along with me, so that was kind of fun. And then those testimonies are available on our district website on the advocacy page, and all I can say is we are committed to continuing advocacy, even though sometimes it does feel like we're knocking our heads against the wall.
That's right. Well, does anybody have any questions for Ms. Matt? I want to thank you both for going down and speaking last week, and if you want to hear two good testimonies, please go on our website and listen to what the ladies brought down to Trenton. Did you want to answer her question? Do you have an answer? You have an answer for her question?
So with regard to thorough and efficient, to the extent that it's not defined by statute, which I don't believe that it is, you'd have to turn to case law that gives interpretations of what a thorough and efficient education is.
Right. Just to share, like, this had come up, there was another district that they've done as much as they felt like they could do with their budget in Ocean County, and so then this was prior to the law for kindergarten being enacted. They're like, well, you have kindergarten, full day kindergarten, get rid of it in order to go, to meet their budget, which, it was ridiculous when I heard it, and I looked it up and it was true. So I said, like, obviously, especially now because it's part of the law, like, you need to add that, but moreover, you need to look and tell us what their own efficient is, because otherwise we're, guessing, and to say we're over adequate because we have certain things that you assume need to be part of a school district, right. It's crazy.
It is, and you're exactly right. It's hitting the wall, and we hit the wall constantly. Thank you all for your committee reports tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot finance. I was thinking of you right here. I forgot you.
Okay. The Finance and Shared Services Committee held its monthly meeting on March 18th. Present at the meeting were Dr. Lehman, Mrs. Allen, Dr. Peck, Mrs. DePayne, Mr. Zeichner, and Mr. Piero. The committee reviewed its monthly bills and attorney invoices, and everything is in order. The budget calendar was revised to align with the release of state aid and the subsequent change in the county deadline to receive the tentative budget. So accordingly, the budget presentation was revised from March 16th to today, and the revision was posted on our website and the online newspaper. I'm going to skip most of what I wrote about state aid because Ms. Allen covered that prior in the presentation. But I did want to highlight that the state did add a 3% cap in how much aid that they can remove from a district. And because of that, we were able to retain $19,000 of aid that we otherwise would have lost if that cap wasn't there. So there have been some minor changes regarding state aid at the state level. All right, next, the committee discussed the School Regionalization Efficiency Program grant. The grant allows school districts to conduct a study free of charge, which would detail what is involved in merging districts. Being that Jamesburg students already attend our high school, it would be reasonable to ask for a study to detail the impact of merging our 2 school districts. If this is something that Jamesburg Board of Ed is interested in doing, we would need to apply for the grant no later than April 15th. Additionally, both Board of Eds would have to pass a resolution to do so. The new governor and state officials have been speaking about regionalization, and it is possible that it may occur in the near future. The committee felt it was best to be proactive to have more control should regionalization occur or be mandated. Lastly, as of March 1st, all public entities such as municipalities, school boards, and county governments will no longer be required to publish meeting notices in print newspapers. Instead, we must post these notices on our own official website at least 48 hours before the meeting, replacing the old requirement to post notices on a physical bulletin board. These online postings will serve as the official public notice and must still include the date, time, location, and agenda if available. Public notices must be archived for 1 year. Additionally, once the meeting has been posted online, it must remain visible on our website for at least 1 week, and after that, we must move it into an online archive. To help residents easily find public meeting information across New Jersey, the Secretary of State has created a centralized website which acts as a directory that links to each public entity's legal notices page. Therefore, we must provide clickable links to the web pages so that web pages can be maintained. Additionally, the law adds a temporary requirement for the 2026 calendar year where we must advertise twice per month in an online news publication such as the Home News Tribune or My Central Jersey. This concludes my report.
Any questions for Ms. Alvarez? Ms.
Can I-
Ratner? I'm sorry, go ahead.
might be answering
All right, go ahead, Dr.
So
Dr.
I
Lehman.
touched base with Dr. Villani from Jamesburg, and they are going to discuss their participation or potential participation in this grant tomorrow night at their board meeting. So there is no resolution. The grant deadline is April 15th. So there is no resolution in our current board agenda to participate in the Regional Efficiency Program grant because at the time of the development of the agenda, Jamesburg hadn't talked about it. So I would say if you're interested in doing that, and we want to be proactive, there is no board meeting between now and April 15th. So if you would like to have that opportunity still available, and if Jamesburg tomorrow night decides that they're interested in participating, if we pass a resolution tonight, they can pass a resolution tomorrow night, and then we can proceed with submitting the grant.
And if they don't pass the resolution tomorrow night, you're no worse off than
Correct.
you
So
are
we
now.
don't
Right.
need them to, so we would just make a motion for a
Both-
resolution, or you have it?
Both boards have to make a resolution
Yes.
to participate in this grant. So if we make a resolution, no harm, no foul, because if they decide to jump on board and participate, then we're good to go. If we don't do it tonight and they're interested tomorrow, we don't have that opportunity come April 15th or by April 15th.
How do we do that?
Make a motion.
I mean,
Does-
right, for a resolution, it's
does-
something usually written out.
Does somebody want to make a motion to join with Jamesburg and apply to the state for the shared services grant contingent upon Jamesburg's passage of a similar resolution tomorrow evening?
I'd like to make a motion,
Just say motion and second. We're good.
fine.
Second.
Okay, thank you very much.
Vote.
Any discussion?
I just think it's good to be proactive.
It is,
In this
yes.
situation.
Yes,
You
it
know,
is.
we don't want to face a mandate and then, you know, someone else is making these decisions. That's my only comment.
And the results of the grant will be given to both townships, school districts, and you don't have to accept it. It's just something that they're offering for districts with the consolidation. And they do all the legwork. They give you the report. And if Jamesburg decides, no, we don't want to do it, that's fine. You know, we're fine. Monroe's fine, Jamesburg's fine. It's just something I think that Dr. Lehman asked me earlier to put the resolution on tonight so we don't lose out. So it's not set in stone. It's
right.
just something that's out there.
I think what they did say is you have to make a good faith effort at the solution. So you can't just say no, but I would imagine, like, given that we already have Jamesburg students that are here, if they agree to do the report, like, there's plenty of opportunities for us to find a way to make that good faith effort. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to do everything that they listed, but we do have to
Exactly.
look at it.
Yes.
And thank you to administration for allowing us to move forward on this, because this is a chance at trying to
Right.
save some money.
Yes. And we'll take a vote now, please. Ms.
Yes.
Allen?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Marazine?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Abstain.
Mr. Piero?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much. Okay. We're up to the public forum.
Ms.
Curriculum,
DePayne, could I just-
curriculum.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Could I just, I just realized, in the Building and Grounds on tonight, the Building and Grounds Committee asked to approve the DI Group Architecture to do a study for repurposing the boys and girls teams room in the high school. So what it is, for people who don't know, that by the gym, there's 2 rooms that the athletes use, and they're just benches with whiteboards that they could use before the game or after the game. What we're proposing, which came from Dr. Higgins at the high school, was we could repurpose them rooms and have them made into classrooms. It shouldn't be much of a cost to do it, and at that point, we could use them as classrooms, they could use them for health or whatever else they may need, and after hours, the teams would still be able to use the rooms. Instead of benches, they would then have desks in the room. So I just wanted to bring that up for part of Building and Grounds.
Yeah, we're
We
still
don't need
talking
a
buildings
motion
and
for that,
grounds.
do we?
I'm
There's no
sorry?
motion. We don't need a motion for that, right?
No, I just forgot to bring it up in my report,
Oh,
that's why I
yeah,
was just bringing
and I
it
forgot
up.
Mr. Zeichner.
But
was
but
very-
wait, before we move on from there, Mr. Piero, did you say that you would like essentially permission or authorization?
It's on the agenda.
It's
now.
on the
Okay,
agenda.
thank you.
Recommend.
I just want to, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Mr. Zeichner.
Oh, I can go now?
Go.
Okay. Okay, the curriculum committee meeting took place on March 18th, 2026 at approximately 6:10 p.m. Present were Dr. Lehman, Charles Zeichner, Gail DePayne, Carmen Alvarez, Kate Ratner, Dr. Amanda Peck, Sue Gasco, Danielle Drest, Dr. Kelly Roselle, Dr. Sinansky, Zach Murata, Samantha McLeod, Jen Roden, Marietta Ruella, Salvatore Ingona, and Yale Snyder. On the agenda were 2 items: a multi-tier system of support and a day in the life of a kindergarten student. Lost my place. The topics were then handed over to Dr. Lehman, who provided a brief overview of the first topic to be introduced, and then it was turned over to Dr. Sinansky. A handout about the New Jersey statewide student support service was distributed. Dr. Sinansky explained that the program was created to supplement existing school programs that provide mental health resources and to serve students, caregivers, school administrators, and staff across New Jersey. He described a 2-tier system outlining the services offered and the corresponding grade levels. Tier 1 focused on community education for K-12, Tier 2 on prevention programs, and Tier 3 on brief counseling for students in grades 6 through 12. Throughout the presentation, he made reference to how the program would apply within the Monroe Township schools. Then Dr. Sinansky addressed questions from board members. Samantha McLeod discussed the topic, a day in the life of kindergarten students. First, she distributed a packet before her presentation. She explained that this laid the groundwork for full-day kindergarten. Each page detailed the progress or plans for implementing full-day kindergarten in September 2026. The packet included items like the budget, curriculum and professional development for kindergarten teachers in math, ELA, and science. They also talked about planning and preparations, space allocation for kindergarten classrooms, and curriculum adjustments to meet the student learning standards. A sample daily schedule for full-day kindergarten was shown. Other topics covered including drop-off, snacks, lunch, recess, and safety issues. Throughout the presentation, time was set aside for questions. The meeting ended at approximately 7:08 p.m. Additional information is available in the curriculum video meeting from March 18th, located on the Monroe website, monroe@k12.nj.us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Zeichner? Okay, thank you all. Now we'll go to the public forum. Sorry about that, Mr. Zeichner. You were very quiet tonight. You got to yell out to me. Please give your name and where you're from.
Gazala Bora, Monroe Township. Want to start by thanking Ms. Ratner and Ms. Frost for going to Trenton. I hope you're more successful than we were last year, because we still got $0 in equalization aid. Had we gotten even $5 million, this budget would have looked a little bit more digestible. But I want to start by thanking the team that worked on the budget. I know firsthand how difficult it is, and it's amazing that kindergarten, full-day kindergarten has been absorbed without losing any programs. So I do want to give a shout out to the team for that. I'm going to ask all my questions, and then maybe you can answer in essence of time, because I was hoping for 2 different public forums for budget and other agenda items. Capital outlay, you did explain that the reserve of $2 million is like a rainy day fund. There was nothing last year. If you could let us know what was the amount for capital reserve the year before last, so 24-25 school budget, to understand why we need $2 million this year. ESIP, my understanding was that our energy savings will pay for our cost of, financing it. There is definitely a shortfall of $300,000 this year. That's not how it'll work, because our understanding of this program was our operational cost will be $0. And for this year, we are looking at $300,000 in negative. So if you could dive in a little bit deeper, I understand the energy costs have gone up, but there were some caveats in the ESIP contract to handle that. So this number is definitely not acceptable to me as a prior board member, so I hope all board members will question this and go back to Honeywell to understand what's going on. The salaries in the operation and maintenance have gone up by 3.15%. Is it just a contractual increase, or is there any hiring in that section? You did mention in educational media services, the drop of 45% was, from what I understood, we didn't have to buy books this year. So it would help if we could know the numbers for 24-25 budget year. We spent $69,000, we budgeted $69,000 this year. Last year, we budgeted $128,000. This is for supplies and materials. I just want to make sure that it is equivalent to the year prior if this is a 15-year cycle. There is an increase of 3.56% in school administration salary of clerical staff and secretaries. I just want to understand if that is also just a contractual increase, or are we hiring any part-time or full-time employees? And lastly, there is out-of-district placement has increased by $300,000. I was hoping that that number would go down because of our MTSS efforts, and that was what we were looking at, but I am surprised to see that number, so if there can be some conversation around that. And the salaries, the only place where the salaries have reduced is summer enrichment, and I know we are increasing that. Is there an offset? Why is the salary reducing in the summer enrichment program? Finally, the capital reserve that we have in the Schedule A, the excess surplus, is $6 million this year. Last year, it was $2.9 million, and this year, $6.7 million. Is that number that we can control that would help make this tax rate slightly better for our taxpayers? And for the health insurance, $8 million is what we've gone up with, 24%. Is that what we've taken in the 2.51% tax rate, or have we gone to the maximum of 29%? So can we make this a little better for our taxpayers if we just go to 24%? So those are my questions. I'm sorry, there's a lot of them. Feel free to answer. If you want me to repeat anything, I can come back and repeat.
So I'll start with the MTSS question. Different population of students. So the MTSS process is really targeting students that are not having an IEP, moving towards potentially a in-class resource, maybe a resource replacement. The out-of-district costs are related to special programs, formerly known as, say, self-contained programs, autism programs, and that is students that have been determined, and/or there may be a legal settlement related to those students being placed out of district because maybe there is emotional challenges that we can't have a program that can maintain them. So MTSS is looking at classification rates heading into the special education process. Those out-of-district placements are a different profile of student. So we are seeing gains and we're seeing changes in that ICR resource room piece coming out of MTSS. But again, totally different group of students when we're looking at out-of-district placements.
Okay, so why would we have that increase of 6.5%? Have we identified more?
So, yeah, go ahead.
So, Ms. Bora, those are typically driven by the IEP requirements related to the student's classification, et cetera. So, unfortunately, to a degree, public schools who have to use approved private schools for students with disabilities are at the mercy of those schools' tuition fees. And as you know, every year those go up in a regular year, not to mention all of the additional fees and costs that we have going on. So while I can say from my own personal experience in the department not only takes each student's classification, needs, accommodations, et cetera, to personalize an individualized education plan for them. They take that very seriously. While the code does not permit special educators to consider out-of-district costs and things like that, it nevertheless is a real factor that impacts the district. So there's this balance that the special education department has to achieve, given all of the challenges that it faces, both economically and also programmatically.
Thank you.
Sure.
I hope I get them all. You'll let me know. Capital reserve prior year. So we have not been able to add to this capital reserve other than there's an interest amount of $500 every year. So it was 23,500 capital reserve. So as I said, we have not been able to add to that for many, many years. So this is like the first time we can add to that and have that reserve in place for when we really need it. Because we have seen things in our buildings breaking down that are very costly.
When we look at the excess surplus, it is a non-reoccurring revenue.
Yes.
It's not a consistent, we're looking at this year, we're not projecting to have that kind of a surplus. So when we will look to apply revenue, specifically in this case, this excess surplus, if we were to take the $3 million in excess surplus and apply it to health benefits or something else, that cost is going to be here next year. We are not going to have the $3 million next year. So as we enter the budget cycle next year, we will be $3 million in the hole from the non-recurring revenue that we would have applied this year, plus whatever increases go before. So when we look at this is a non-recurring revenue. We know we have capital, we have a low, basically empty capital reserve account, and we have capital outlay needs. So the capital outlay project for $1 million is things that we can do next year, we plan to do next year to address our aging facilities, and that $2 million becomes the fund that we can now draw on. If you think about when we had the power issues at the high school over the summer, and we're looking at an approximate $40,000 circuit breaker, 600 amp circuit breaker, and we have a $23,000 capital reserve account. That's where we can draw from. If a $100,000 rooftop unit, because the rooftop units on Oak Tree in the high school fail, we can grab from the capital reserve account. Obviously, there's board motions and things that we would do to draw that money out. But not having that puts it at a significant disadvantage, because now we're looking at what is currently happening, what is our current operating budget, and where are we finding the $100,000, where are we finding the $40,000? We're in a position to add to that capital reserve account. It is tremendously scary to have the $23,000 account. So if you're looking at why not apply it, to the healthcare piece, it's a non-reoccurring revenue, and that healthcare expense is going to be there next year. We will be
that
filling
was-
the gap of that.
That wasn't my question.
Yep.
So just that, why haven't we, done that capital outlay surplus before, reserve, sorry?
Right,
Why didn't we do it before? What stopped
Go ahead.
us?
Go ahead and take it.
I would say we didn't have the money in the budget to do that. This year, as Dr. Lehman just mentioned, we do have that we can put that in there in place, but we haven't.
Because of the 2% levy.
Yeah.
We are able to, okay.
Yes, so that's why. The salaries in, I think,
The
plant.
ESIP is a big one. ESIP is a big one.
Oh, the ESIP? So ESIP, we had a schedule, as you know, a cost, a savings, a cash analysis, a cash flow analysis, I guess it was. So for 26, 27, they have projected that the annual energy savings would be $561,000. The operational savings would be $116,000, and that's basically, they've replaced all these things, so they won't break down. We won't have to use our people the labor there or materials or anything, so that's the operational savings. And then energy rebates and incentives of $287,000. So the total savings, those three items added together, is $965,000, and the debt is $912,000, leaving us with a positive cash flow of $52,000. So that is how the ESIP is going to be
makes
working
sense.
for next year. And as you recall, I'm sure that we have that guarantee for the first year,
Yes.
right? So after everything's in place, and I think it's the year after everything's in place, they will come in and do this audit and see that this is actual, these savings are actual, and if they're not, they will give us the difference in what they said it was and what it is.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. You say
The books, right?
salaries-
The educational media and
Yes,
services?
so we are, I can just tell you that we are,
So I can tell you,
Lease
and
per-
you
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 have
can pull
it?
up the exact number, but
Yeah.
all we did was we took what was budgeted for and what we're purchasing in terms of library books this year. Instead of having it on that line item, we moved it into the lease purchase. So there's no reduction in what they're purchasing. We just moved the location to the lease purchase instead of purchasing it under that line.
Okay,
So
the
so
lease
every,
lease purchase increased by a similar amount?
Yep.
That this one reduced by?
yep, and it has to do with the library books are hardbound books that last at least the duration of the lease purchase, and that's the requirement for it.
So no other supplies were impacted for students?
Nope.
no, so $63,000 of library books has been moved out of that supply line and into the lease purchase.
That makes sense. Thank
Okay.
you.
The salaries for the plant, is that plant and
Yeah,
operations?
generally, overall, wherever I see like a salary increase, is it just contractual, or are we hiring
Contractual.
anybody?
They are contractual, that's the Teamsters contract. And it may not be the exact percent because of changes or overtime or something, so, but that is contractual.
And Dr. Lehman, you were answering
Ms.
that
Gore,
question about
you're over
surplus.
the 4 minutes.
Sorry, my last question, Ms. Payne, I was just clarifying the question. The tax rate of 2.51%, which is because of the health insurance, we are allowed to go up to 31. Did we only go up as much as we are paying?
No, we are allowed to go up to 29, so they take the 31 and 2% off of that, so it's 29 that we are allowed to go up, and that's what we did.
Why did we not go up 24%, which is our actual increase, not 29?
No, because that line, you're looking at the,
I'm looking at the
Personnel.
appropriations, yes.
so this line item contains many other things, other than health insurance for employee benefits.
Okay.
That's why it's not just health insurance.
Thank you.
Okay?
Anyone else wishing to speak right now?
Bob Valentine, Monroe. Kind of a mix of comments and questions. I'll try to be clear about which is which so you understand. I also want to thank you, Ms. Allen. I know I've lived your life. I know how hard this is. So even though I have some comments and questions, I'm going to raise some things. Please don't misunderstand. I know how much work goes into this and how challenging it is.
Thank you.
So just some general comments. I'll try to get them in as quickly as I can. I was hoping the kindergarten program numbers would be broken out so we can understand what the changes are in the base recurring budget versus what you're doing for the kindergarten program. I still, as I've asked before, I really wish we would do a one-page P&L summary of the budget. I think it'd be much easier for everybody to understand at a very high level what's going on. I think it'd be good. Again, as I've asked before, there's no analytics in the presentation. One of the members asked about price per student. If you might recall, a few months ago, I talked about FTEs and asking for FTEs to be in the budget, in the board reports. One of the things I hope that has been done internally, and you should ask, has somebody looked at the FTE trend over the last 3 years, looked at the cost per student per FTE, and looking at that to see that, everything makes sense, that, revenue per student might be up, but if expenses per student are going more than the revenue is going up, that's why you're challenged. Those are the kind of things, those kind of discussions that should be going on as you satisfy yourself as to the budget, in my opinion. Just a comment on the health insurance. I understand the basic challenge. I did a very quick, while you were talking, quick Google. I saw non-governmental rates in the low 20s. I guess what I was hoping to hear more about is utilization. What are the utilization challenges? How do we compare to other school districts in our area? What's driving the utilization? Is it GLPs? Is it something else? What is the action plan? Besides, I know we're going to do, follow up in general, but advocacy, but really about identifying what are the strategies, what are the things that we need to address if we have an issue. Maybe we don't. But there was no discussion really about utilization. I was hoping at a high level we might hear something about that. As far as the fringe benefits go in general, the other kind, I'd just like to make more for the community and for you, because I know you all know this, but in addition to what's in the budget, you've got another $30 million or so that's for the pension and the post-retirement medical. It's not in the budget, correct, Laura?
Correct.
So just for you to be aware, when you look at your property tax bills and looking at the cost of everything, those numbers are not even in this budget. Capital reserve, get a comment. It's $2 million for the capital reserve. I understand the logic of it. I can't dispute that. But I would also say to you, the total budget is $160 million. $2 million is about 1% of that budget. I find it hard to believe that you can't put your heads together and find enough savings that if the district ran on 99% of what it had last year, that it would cease to exist as we know it, and there'd be such dramatic, draconian disasters all over the place. I really think, I'd like to see you take another hard look at that, especially given what's going on with the health insurance and the rate increase in general. I would think there'd be some opportunity. I'm not sure you quite pushed on it, and maybe just the timing trying to get everything done, but I really would ask you to take a look at that. I guess I really just, I do have one more question on the capital reserve. Is this a change in strategy? In other words, we've talked about going out for a bond. If we change strategy now, and we're going to try to do this by increasing capital reserves every year instead of going out for a bond, is this more than just trying to set up a capital reserve? Are we changing strategy? That was the other comment or question I'd like clarity on. And lastly, one detailed question. How much has the legal budget increased this year compared to last year's original budget, if it has? If it has, approximately how much?
You want to go first?
Yeah, so in terms of a strategy change, big picture, no, the goal is not to, say, squirrel away $15 million in a capital reserve account. This is an opportunity that we have in terms of not applying a non-recurring revenue and getting ourselves in a jam in a future year, but also building up a deficit that we actually had a conversation about in terms of a capital reserve in the past. So it's taking an opportunity to make sure we are able to address the facility needs. We know they're aging facility needs. And then every year, if we come through and we have the ability to contribute to that capital reserve, I think that is something that needs to be considered. And but the goal is not to necessarily try and squirrel away $20 million. We haven't had in many, many years the ability to even contribute a little bit to the capital reserve. If we begin to trend in that direction, we have a bigger conversation about that. But right now, it's building up, just having a simple base. And I think you could look at districts that are in a healthy financial position around us and think that we probably should have a capital reserve account of maybe $5 to $7 million to really handle our projects coming and going in terms of our aging facilities. So this is the beginning of building that base.
This may be a question of timing, right, given what's going on with the other aspects, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so the legal question? So legal fees were budgeted are budgeted right now at $260,000 and the same for next year.
So that begs the question, then, are we going to have a resolution to our long-running superintendent problem by the start of the new budget year? Is that what
Sir,
you're
you're
telling us?
actually,
I
you're
can't answer
past
that.
your 4 minutes for your question.
Well, that was the, okay. I asked the question, you can choose to answer, or
Okay.
I'll ask it again later.
Yeah, you can ask later, that would be fine. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Can I just clarify something real quick?
Yeah,
So
please.
legal expenses, it's not just our board attorney. It does include all of the ethics cases, all of the cases that we have to pay attorneys for, which are unknown. We have to, estimate what it will be based on what it's been, but that is in there too. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Allen.
Good evening, board member. Dhaval Mehta. I have a couple of questions related to budget. Thank you for the full-day kindergarten. And the question related to that is like, is there any cost involved in that? Because we believe that there will be some reconstruction or combinations of the class or something like that for that.
You want me to take it?
Yeah.
So in terms of the full-day kindergarten costs, we're absorbing the staffing within our internal staff. Space-wise, because we're declining enrollment, we are not having to add on to the buildings at this time. The only staffing additions, and we talked about earlier, would be the non-certificated staff to monitor them at lunches and to engage with them in the classrooms. Supplies-wise and things like that, there's a slight increase. We do operate full-day or kindergarten as is, so this would up the supplies needed to function a few extra classrooms, as well as some one-time expenditures in terms of additional rugs or easels, maybe some desks and chairs.
Okay, so no cost for any construction or anything like
No,
that?
no construction costs built into this. We do have a project that we have in our back pocket that we certainly can engage with in the future if we see enrollment pivot and change. That's something we haven't had in the past.
Okay. Then the second question is, as our enrollment is decreasing year by year, are there any impact on the classes reducing or transportation or anything like that?
So everything is proportionally decreasing. So you saw the state aid reduction. That's a reflection of our DRTRS report, reflecting less students traveling to and from, in our transportation in the mornings. When we look at classes, for instance, the application of full-day K, as the smaller class sizes, if you have 5 or 6 sections of grade 1 and they move up, and you have an incoming 4 sections of grade 1, that goes to the grade 2 the next year. We are moving teachers around. We're reallocating them, in this case, to full-day K. So yes, you see a proportional adjustment to the enrollment as they move through. Currently, the bubble, the decrease in bubble is in the middle school, and that is working its way through the middle school. It has not yet hit the high school. Our high school class sizes are consistent to what they were for the past 10 years or so.
Okay. And the last question, or not the question, not related to budget, related to the school calendar regarding Diwali holiday. We understand as like, so Diwali is,
I don't think that's not one of our agenda items. This section is referring to agenda items only. You can bring it up at the end when we put up public, can speak on anything.
I think it's a public forum, right? It's not
Right,
related to
but
budget?
this is not the right time. This is public forum, agenda items only. You can speak towards the end of the meeting. We can come up again about that.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Braun, Monroe Township. I don't have a question. I just really want to thank everyone, and not just everyone on the board and sitting here, but everyone who was a part of the full-day kindergarten, that whole program, that whole process. It's a really big deal, and the fact that we're implementing it with such a relatively low cost for such an amazing service, like, I'm amazed. So I just want to thank everyone, and it's a big deal. So I'm hopeful that, this is something that is a part of the final budget, and thank you all.
Well, thank you, sir, for your comments. That's very nice. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening, Chrissy Skirby, Monroe Township. I just had a couple of questions. I just want to point out, the increase in the budget is $12 million from last year. That's a 7.76%. So while we remain under the 2% or at the 2% tax levy, it's only because the state is allowing for such a large adjustment for the healthcare. But we didn't have to go up to the 2% cap, as we just said. We're going to maximum spending authority for a second time in a year. Last year, the taxes went up approximately $136 per assessed value of $335. It's almost double this year. Our taxes are increasing at such a significant rate. And you're doing it to Gonzala's point, you're doing it to increase the base budget so you have more to increase next year. We don't have to do that. If you don't have a project that costs $2 million, do the right thing for the taxpayers. Don't put $2 million in, put $1 million in. That means something to the community. You're just going to try to increase that base budget. We didn't have the $2 million, and we did not have a problem. And if you do have a problem, then you go out for a question, and you ask the taxpayers to fund whatever you have to fix. We have a long-range facilities plan. We know what needs to be done with our facilities. To just budget $2 million like that is irresponsible. And I'd like to know, one big question I have is, what percent did you use to increase the teacher's salary? And have we had contract negotiations? Because the contract is up June 30th. I've not heard anything about contract negotiations with the MTEA. For 3 years, the MTEA had a 4% contract increase. I'm doing quick calculations in my head, and this does not go anywhere near 4% increase for the teachers' union contracts. So what are we doing? Is the contract renegotiated? Do we have any rate? And what did you use? Did you use 4%, or did you use something below, giving our teachers, in essence, would be a tax decrease in their salary because they're used to getting 4%. Are we saying now that we're only budgeting to give them less of an increase? And I'd also ask Dr. Lehman, we had a very nice conversation, and I thank you very much for answering my questions whenever I have them. I think it's important for you to explain why full-day kindergarten works now, because we had a dialogue about that, about why it did not work in the past and why it does work now, because there are some very negative comments from the vice president about previous boards and about the superintendent not wanting full-day kindergarten, and that was not the case. And I think, Dr. Lehman, you could give that explanation of why it actually works this year, as you explained it to me how it wouldn't have worked in the previous years.
Sure. I'm going to have Mr. Weiss address the first question.
Yeah, Ms. Skirby, I'm just going to address the issue of what percentage was used, your question, what percentage was used for the teachers. There's a placeholder of 3.5%. However, we are going to be starting negotiations, so I don't think it'd be appropriate for us.
So negotiations have not begun yet. The contract is over June 30th. When I was the board president, we started, I'd like to finish before I get cut off. The negotiations when I was the board president for the last contract started in October.
They've started already. I misspoke
When
just
was
now.
the first meeting?
We are beginning negotiations.
When was the first meeting?
We are beginning negotiations.
So there has not been a meeting.
We have met with our attorneys, and they are preparing their side, and we will be getting together very shortly.
So there has not
Ms.
been a meeting
Kirby,
yet.
your time is up. Your 4 minutes
What
is
you're
up.
doing is wrong to the teachers.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
In terms of full-day K, I wanted
sorry, go ahead,
to
Dr.
address that. So 4 or 5 years ago, we were looking at several issues with full-day K. We were looking at overcrowded elementary schools. The high school still is extremely full. We were looking at the number one issue for us is space. If we had the space, then we would have had higher teachers, but we don't have the space. You even have the option to hire teachers. So once we began to see some of the trends in terms of smaller kindergarten classes coming through, they started to work their way through the elementary schools. Was it a one-time hit? Was it a 2 times hit? And we've seen a trend now long enough that our incoming kindergarten classes are much smaller than they used to be, and it's stabilized. Those bubbles are moving through the middle school. And what that put us in a position now, and honestly, if you ask me, 18 months ago, it was a different discussion. I think we were still having a conversation about space 18 months ago. We have continued to see that trend of lower incoming kindergarten classes, and that allowed us to not only have space to fit it in, but to be able to reallocate staff as those bubbles move through. So we have other elementary teachers that are interested in teaching kindergarten or want to teach kindergarten that now are able to do that. So the history from years ago to now is it wasn't an option because we didn't have the space. We didn't have the ability to spend our $20 million to add on to the buildings. And similarly, we didn't have the ability to hire teachers because we had no place to put them. Both of those issues have resolved themselves over time, and we sit here today being able to fit in full-day K in our existing space. And we will monitor enrollment. We have the ability to flex a little bit in a couple of the schools, but if we see an increase in enrollment, we go back to seeing the numbers we saw years and years ago. We will have to revisit how it fits in the building and what our class sizes are, but for the next several years, I think we are in a good trend.
Thank you, Dr. Lehman. Yep. Now, next is your Assistant Superintendent report, please.
Ask if anybody else.
Excuse me? Oh, did anyone else want to come and speak this evening? Thank you, Pete. Dr. Lehman?
Sure. I'm just logging in. So a few highlights, and then I'll get into the report. Just wanted to touch base and thank and congratulate the cast of SpongeBob from the middle school. They had an outstanding performance. All the students and the staff that put on that performance worked extremely hard. They had 3 performances earlier this month, and it was a tremendous success. Our honors percussion, MTHS Honors Percussion Ensemble achieved an outstanding milestone on March 7th and 8th. They won the WGI East Power Regional Championship in the Scholastic A Concert Percussion Division, making it their 4th consecutive year as champions. So congratulations to them. That was down at Toms River North. And then this just recently happened. Our Monroe Township High School Honors Wind Ensemble had a very successful and busy month. They were recently invited to perform at the Carnegie Hall, and the concert last Wednesday evening was a huge success. It's an experience our students and staff will remember forever. That's one of the most renowned concert venues in the world. And last Thursday, they also were successful at the CJMEA Concert Band Festival. They earned a gold rating, which is one of the highest scores awarded across all 4 nights of the festival for all the high school bands from Central New Jersey. So tremendous opportunities for our students, and we congratulate them on their performances.
Dr. Lehman, can I just say, I'm sorry,
Sure.
that the concert at Carnegie Hall was sponsored by the Monroe Ed Foundation.
They contributed.
They contributed
Yep,
to
they
it.
were student funded, but they contributed to lower the costs. Yes, it was several $100s per student, and they helped.
Right.
Is that performance able to be viewed somewhere? We have it on our website.
I can ask. I don't know the answer to that, so I can ask. The Carnegie Hall one you're asking?
Yeah.
I can ask. I know they took some pictures. I actually shared them in the confidential, but I will look and see if there's a recording.
Okay. All right, Dr. Lehman.
Sure. So under the 10-member personnel, it's recommended that the board approve the attached personnel items A through M.
Motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Allen?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Forst?
Yes.
Mr. Marazine?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Deichner?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under the 9-member personnel vote, it's recommended that the board approve the attached personnel items N through AK. N through AK.
Motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Ratner?
There are a couple of staff members under the 9-member retiring that I just wanted to recognize, Ms. Likway, Ms. Garaventi, and Ms. Visaki. My daughter is the only one who would have had Ms. Visaki. However, I have been to several programs that she's run that, she really has gone above and beyond. I know the History Happens Here was a lot of work on her part, as well as a lot of the optimistic Smiles for OMS things that we do in the school. And so I did just want to thank her for all of her years, as well as the other retirees for all of their service to our district.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Lehman? Anybody else have any questions? Okay.
You got to take a vote.
Okay. Ms.
Vote,
Alvarez?
please. Roll call.
Oh, sorry. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Marazine?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under board action, 10-member vote, it's recommended that the board approve the attached board action items A through J. A through J.
Motion?
So motion.
Second. Is there any discussion? Roll call?
Okay. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Marazine?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Motion passes.
So for board action, 9-member vote, it's recommended that the board approve the attached board action items K through S. K through S.
Motion?
So,
Any discussion? Ms. Allen?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes to all, abstain on letter N.
Ms. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Marazine?
Yes to all, no on student G on letter N.
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
Student G?
No to
Okay,
student G on letter
student
N.
G. Okay, got it. Mr. Pirro?
I'm yes to all. I'm a no on student G 302643.
Is that student G?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Ms. Ratner?
Yes to all, no on 302643 for student G, recuse on letter L and O for Mr. Ratner.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes to all and no for 302643 for letter G.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes to all except for G on N.
Okay. Mr. Zeichner?
yes to all except for number 302643, and that would be student G.
Okay. And Ms. DePayne?
Yes to all, and again, no on 302643, student G.
Okay. So motion passes except for student G under 302643.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Lehman. Ms. Allen?
Yes. It is recommended that board action items A through K under the 10-member vote be approved by consent roll call.
Motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Ratner?
Yep, I just have, I wanted to thank the MEF for their donation that's listed here. I also just had two quick questions. The first, I know that we see this often on our agenda, the disposal of surplus property. Where does that go into our budget? Because I know we get something from it. Is that anything that, like the cost that we recoup from selling our surplus property?
Yeah, so in this case, it is from the food service fund, so it's going to go back into the food service fund because that's where they purchased it from.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah.
And then the other question that I had, and I apologize for not asking these earlier, I was looking at, the budget and other things. I saw that there's the contract for Normandy photographer under letter H. The attachment mentions a cost of a $20 session fee, which provides seniors with an average of 12 to 20 images. I'm assuming that there's other costs and rate, but I don't see those in the contract for the other grades and for the seniors, because, if it is just $20 for seniors only, that sounds great, but I would imagine that there's got to be something else.
It's a lot of money.
That's got to be a lot.
That's why I'm asking.
So in terms of that, that is the senior photos. So there's other packages, obviously, that could be purchased and things like that, but this is just changing and pivoting the photographer there for the high school.
But I guess just looking at, because it also mentions the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, but there's no cost on here.
Right.
Is that,
So there's different photo process for the seniors than there is for the 9th through 11th graders. You have your standard school photos, yearbook photos, but then the senior photos are separate.
Okay, I guess just I was wondering how we find out what, like, how much the cost is increasing by changing, or is it decreasing? Is there a way for us to know that?
There is no cost for a student to get their photo taken as long as everybody gets their photo taken for the yearbook. You just purchase packages if you choose to. That's why there's no cost to get a photo taken.
Okay.
When you take your senior photos, that's different.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Pura?
This is for Mr. Weiss. Do we need the doctrine of necessity to vote on the bill list?
Yes, Mr. Pirro, we do need the doctrine of necessity for the bill list.
Because I think that's part of what.
Is that next?
It's in this, it's in
It's
this.
the next one?
section.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Would you,
Okay,
would
thank
you like me to read a motion?
Yes, please.
Certainly.
Did you say not really?
Yes, she did say that. Whereas Dr. Shari Chanley serves in the capacity of superintendent for the 25-26 school year, and whereas the board must consider certain financial-related matters concerning Dr. Chanley's employment, and whereas upon review of the various conflicts of interest of the current board members, it has been determined that 6 of the members have conflicts of interest pursuant to the New Jersey School Ethics Act, and whereas pursuant to Policy 0163, when a quorum of the board has conflicted interest, the doctrine of necessity may be invoked in order to allow conflicted board members to participate and vote only when the Board of Education has fewer non-conflicted board members than are required pursuant to statute to take action. And whereas when invoking the doctrine of necessity, the board shall state publicly that it is invoking the doctrine of necessity with the reasons for doing so and the specific nature of the conflicts of interest. And whereas the board policy further provides that it shall read the resolution invoking the doctrine of necessity at a regularly scheduled public meeting, post the notice of the resolution for 30 days, and provide the School Ethics Commission with a copy of the resolution. And whereas the School Ethics Act, NJSA 18A:12-21, was enacted by the New Jersey State Legislature to ensure and preserve public confidence in school board members and school administrators and to provide specific ethical standards to guide their conduct. And whereas the School Ethics Commission has provided guidance regarding the invocation of the doctrine of necessity when a quorum of the Board of Education is not available because members of the Board of Education have conflicts of interest on a matter required to be discussed and voted upon. And whereas the board intends to conduct votes concerning Dr. Chanley. Whereas members of the board have conflicts of interest that would prevent their participation in and vote on matters related to Dr. Chanley are as follows. Carmen Alvarez, Gail DePayne, Peter Pirro, Usha Sharma, and Charles Eichner are involved in litigation with Dr. Chanley. Kate Ratner's husband, David Ratner, is a teacher employed by the board. Whereas, as a result of the foregoing, the board does not have a quorum to vote on matters related to the superintendent's employment, and the board's counsel and the board have determined that it is necessary to invoke the doctrine of necessity. Now therefore be it resolved that the above paragraphs are hereby incorporated by reference, and be it further resolved that the doctrine of necessity is hereby invoked with respect to the board's public votes related to Dr. Chanley this evening, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution, having been read at a public meeting of the board on March 26, 2026, be posted in accordance with the board's standard procedures for not less than 30 days, and that the board secretary reflect the same in the minutes of the meeting, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be provided to the School Ethics Commission. May I have a motion and a second?
Motion. Second.
Roll call, Ms. Allen.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
I'm sorry, wait. I have a question.
You said the 26th.
I thought I got the date wrong. It's almost the 26th, if we think, I'm going to change it to the 25th. And Ms. Allen, I would just ask that your minutes reflect the change in the date, because the copy that I sent to you has November 26th in it. I'm changing it now to November 25th to reflect
November?
March.
March.
Sorry, I'm batting 1,000 tonight.
I think we all are.
March 25th, 2026.
Okay. Yep.
You keep saying
So,
September, so you keep saying November.
Mr. Marzine?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, so I think we are back to
Yes, Mr.
My,
Tufano.
Sorry. I would like to make a motion. Before I make that motion, I want to just let the board know and be aware that we are contractually obligated to pay any and all of Dr. Chanley's legal bills. So I'd like to make a motion to have this board vote to pay for any and all of her outstanding legal bills, as to not incur any more costs on the taxpayers when she goes to court and sues this board.
Second.
Anyone have discussion?
Didn't we just
Can't
talk about
discuss?
this?
No, we're not allowed to
Yeah.
deliberate.
I guess we can't because of, yeah.
okay, so.
Ms. Allen?
Yep. Ms. Alvarez?
Just for clarity, I'm voting on Mr. Tufano's motion right now.
Correct.
Okay. Abstain?
Okay. Ms. Forst?
Abstain.
Mr. Marazine?
Yes.
Dr. Peck? Mr. Pirro?
Abstain.
Ms. Ratner?
Recused due to conflict.
Ms. Sharma?
Abstain.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Abstain.
Ms. DePayne?
Abstain.
Motion does not pass.
Now, yes, we have to have, for your 10-member?
So my 10 members, so we had a motion and second, so now we're just taking
Yes,
the vote?
just a roll
Yes,
call.
okay.
Mhm.
So Ms. Alvarez?
Yes to all, abstain on check number 14696 and 14821 on the bill list.
14696 and 14821.
821.
Oh, here we go. So, no, abstain. Okay. Ms. Forst?
Yes to all except abstain on check number 14821 and 14696.
Mr. Marazine?
Yes to all.
Okay. Dr. Peck? Mr. Pirro?
Okay, I have to recuse on 14561, 14562, 14696, 14700, 14822, 14870, 14878, and I am going to abstain on 14821.
Okay. Ms. Ratner?
Yes to all. I need to recuse on letter J for myself. And then I need to recuse on the bill list, 14410 for Dr. Lehman, 14270, 14358, 14414, and 14630 for Mr. Snyder, 14561, 14562, 14822, 14870, and 14878 for Mathesal Werble.
Excuse me, can you just start?
Oh, sorry.
14561, 14562, and then?
All of the ones for Mathesal and Werble, does that help?
Okay, 14561.
I know, but then we had the
14822.
84, so 14561, 14562, 14822, 14870, and 14878.
14878.
There's more.
Okay. Just do this too. Okay. Ms. Sharma?
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done?
Sorry. I just wanted you to catch up.
Oh, okay.
14880 for Mr. Lurie, 14696 for Mr. Rubin, and 14821 for Mr. Coy.
Okay. 14 for Mr. Rubin, 14696, you said?
Correct.
Okay. Let me just, let me just make sure. 14561, 14562, 14696, 14822, 14870, 14878. And then the other ones, these were the legal ones, and the other ones were
14821?
14821, okay, got that. All right. Ms. Sharma?
Sure, my turn now? Okay, no for 14821 and abstain 14696. Rest is yes.
6, okay. Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes, except for 14821. That's a no.
4821 is a no.
Yes.
Okay, that's it? Okay, that was easy. Okay, Ms.
That was an easy one,
Mr. Payne?
Yes to all, but no on 14821.
Okay, so let's see, we have, so the checks that do not pass, let me see, we have 1, 2, so 14561 passes, 14562 passes, 14696, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, does not pass, 14696, that, yeah, David Rubin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 14821 does not pass. 14822 does pass. 14870 does pass. 14878 does pass. 870. And that's it. So the only ones that did not pass are 14696 and 14821. Okay.
Laura, can you read to the public what those checks are for?
What they are, yes. 14696 is for David Rubin, the attorney, and 14821 is for William Coy, the attorney.
This board basically doesn't want to pay anybody's legal fees. That's basically what's going on. Terrific.
Okay.
Ms. Allen, do you have any?
Yeah, so it is recommended that board action item L, under the 9-member vote, be approved by consent roll call.
Motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just thank you to Steve and Sherry Weissman for their donation of the adapted bike for Mill Lake.
So Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Marazine?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Payne?
Yes.
Motion passes. So now I would like to read the budget resolution. Okay?
Yes.
So,
Yes, please.
okay. So, be it resolved by the Monroe Township Board of Education that the 26-27 tentative general fund budget be adopted in the amount of $160,411,874, and a tentative general fund local tax levy in the amount of $135,602,106, and a tentative special revenue fund budget in the amount of $1,229,501, and a tentative debt service budget in the amount of $11,255,437, and a tentative debt service local tax levy in the amount of $10,975,494, whereby the tentative 2026-27 budget totals $172,896,812, and be it further resolved by the Monroe Township Board of Education, including the budget, is the appropriation of surplus in the amount of $6,703,125. Be it further resolved that the Monroe Township Board of Education includes in the budget the adjustment for increased costs of health benefits in the amount of $7,939,427. The additional funds will be used to pay for the additional increases in health benefit premiums. Be it further resolved that included in the general fund appropriations is $2,090,000 for deposit into the Board of Education's approved capital reserve account for future funding of capital projects. Whereas the Monroe Township Board of Education has been notified of state aid amounts, and whereas such state aid amounts are for 2026-27, the categorical special education aid is $7,132,661, and for 2026-27, The categorical security aid is $985,227. And for 2026-27, the categorical transportation aid is $3,821,065. And for 26-27, the debt service aid is $279,943. And whereas the Monroe Township Board of Education has estimated a state aid amount pursuant to application, and for 26-27, the estimated extraordinary aid amount is $397,484. And whereas policy number 6471 in NJAC 6A:23-7.3 provides that the Board of Education shall establish in the annual school budget a maximum expenditure that may be allotted for travel and expense reimbursement for 2026 school year. Now therefore be it resolved, the Monroe Township Board of Education hereby establishes the school district travel maximum for the 2026-27 school year at the tentative sum of $165,500, and be it further resolved that the school business administrator shall track and record these costs to ensure that the maximum amount is not exceeded, and be it further resolved that members of the Monroe Township Board of Education authorize and approve a transfer of $25,000 of anticipated retained earnings from the proprietary Falcon Care program as a revenue source in the 2026-27 general fund budget. Now therefore let it be resolved, the acting superintendent of schools and the business administrator board secretary file the required documents with the executive county superintendent.
Do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Allen?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Forst?
Yes.
Mr. Marzine?
No.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
No.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say on behalf of the Board of Education, and I know we must all agree, I'd like to thank Dr. Lehman for keeping us updated during both snowstorms, which we didn't want. I didn't want them. Every day he let us know what was going on, and he was very efficient with that. I'd also like to thank Mr. Jerry Tague and our entire maintenance department for a job well done with the snow removal for both storms. I think the word dedication comes to mind for all the time and effort that they put into making our district ready for the students to come back to school in a timely manner. Mr. Tague even mentioned during the BGT committee meeting that a couple of his workers lived far, and they asked to stay overnight in the building. And they stayed here, got up the next day, and were ready to complete the plowing and getting the schools ready in a very timely manner. Also, Ms. Martyr mentioned that her bus drivers and maintenance crew with regarding transportation were also very helpful during the two snow events. I want to wish everyone a happy Easter and a happy Passover, and that our next board meeting on April 27th, we will have the board meeting and a budget hearing at the same time that evening. So looking forward to see everyone come that evening. And thank you everyone again, Dr. Lehman, Ms. Allen, for all you did for our budget. Okay. Public forum, closed session. I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry.
I was going to, other board business.
I'm sorry, other board business. I'm having a bad night tonight.
It's all right.
Other board business. Yes.
Okay. So just really quick one, highlight a couple of things. Had the opportunity to read for Read Across America. I know several of us had that opportunity. I had it at Mill Lake and Woodland Elementary School, so I just wanted to thank them for allowing us to come in and read every year. It really reminds us one of the reasons why we're doing this, and definitely is appreciated. I also had the opportunity to attend SpongeBob last week. The students really did a great job. I'm looking forward to going to Greece next month, and I just wanted to thank them for the chocolate bars that are sitting in front of us. It's appreciated. And then last night, I was able to stop by the work-based learning event. It was a networking event where the alumni, some community members participated in a dialogue, and then they provided some breakout sessions to talk about different employment opportunities and different skills you may need in the workforce. So I just wanted to thank you to the administration. I saw Mr. Maldo was leading the dialogue there for spearheading that, as well as to the participants from our community and the MEF, because they also helped to sponsor that event. Finally, I just wanted to say, like, as far as our budget, and this is not for this year, this is not new to anyone here. And Ms. DePayne, I think you might have been on the county meeting when we heard from the Sayreville BA, I believe it was. But I would love for perhaps us to review how we are handling our budget process as a board and as a district, and look at what some of the other districts are doing. I know, like, what they had said is a lot of their budget defense rounds are like in collaboration with the board. I know that, I watched with East Brunswick, they had gone through a lot of the line items and things more like individual, almost looking at like the more detailed breakdown of the budget. And so I don't, again, this is what we've had. This is not like there's been changes this year, but I really do feel like it would be helpful for us to just maybe for finance committee or something else, break it down a little bit more throughout the year, just to get a better idea of where we might be able to save if there's a possibility of saving. But I did just want to bring that up and wish everybody a happy spring break, because that's coming up as well.
Yes, Mr. Maristine.
So I also got to read at Mill Lake and Woodland. That was a great experience. And then now we're going back to February, because it's been that long. I was actually at the NJMEA convention, and I saw the Monroe Chamber singers there. They did an excellent job. I wish more of the instrumental groups in the district would go down there, but just to see Monroe, and they were represented great. And I mentioned last meeting, Mr. Snyder was, he was the president. He did a great job running that event, and it's a convention for like every music teacher in the state, and he ran it like it was incredible. So big shout out to him. And then just as far as the budget, just for the you guys out there, this is my first time experiencing how the budget works, and it was great that you guys invited us to the board office, and we got to basically we just saw this is just for your information. We got to see this presentation and then ask questions, and that was basically the extent of me as a board member. And there was multiple times given for board members to come in. Not every board member went, which is unfortunate. Especially on something that's raising, families and our seniors, their taxes. So that unfortunately is something that I'm disappointed that, in particular, the Monroe board members, the ones who live in Monroe, it would have been nice to have everybody go, but that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Anyone else have something to say this evening? Yes, Mr. Pirro.
Yeah, I have an issue with what's going on. So there's a conversation between a board member and a private citizen that somehow ends up at the Board of Education. There was no threats made to us. There was no threats here. Yet we have to spend extra money on security and police to be at a meeting, for which I still can understand why. And then on top of that, we have a board member who uses a board email and gets involved in this situation to bring this board into litigation. I find it horrible, disgusting. It's unbelievable that we are going to now end up wasting money on things that have nothing to do with the Board of Education. Zero. It's ridiculous.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Pirro. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Mr. Zeichner.
Yes, I just want to mention that as a former school administrator and as also as a teacher, which I loved, I had a great opportunity to go over to, it was the two schools in Millbrook,
Mill Lake.
Yeah, Mill Lake, I'm sorry. I need to be corrected on that. And what's the other one on that side?
Woodland.
Woodland, thank you. I had the opportunity to read to little ones, and I must tell you, I had a ball. It was such a wonderful, wonderful experience. And
It is.
I really enjoyed it immensely.
And I'm just going to say something else. I did read also. I was invited to go to Mill Lake and Woodland. I was able to make Woodlands, I think it was Mrs. Troiano's class, if I said her name right. I picked fourth grade because I have a grandson that's in fourth grade, and I was able to read, and my daughter teaches fourth grade in New Brunswick. So I was able to read at her class in fourth grade and fourth grade here in Monroe. And it is a wonderful day to be with the students, and the questions they ask you were a little bit off-key, not in Monroe, but they were in New Brunswick, that I really can't mention, but it was a wonderful experience. And Mr. Snyder did tell me that, I don't know if it's Chorus, who can correct me, Kate, is performing May 3rd at Rossmore. He told me this a couple months ago, and it's on my calendar. So anybody that lives in Rossmore, anybody around Rossmore, please come. It's the church, whatever they call that hall, the acoustics are beautiful. And the children that come and make the presentation, it's extraordinary to hear them sing and play the instruments, and it's just a wonderful time. So he always reminds me, and I wanted to remind everybody, May 3rd at Rossmore, it's on my calendar. So anyone else have anything they'd like to say this evening? Any board members? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay. Now we have our, we did our close. Public forum. Yes, I'm sorry. On closed session items only.
No.
Any.
No. Any items. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. What's this up here?
Don't do
Having a bad day.
Just a quick reminder about the kindergarten request that I made. Dr. Lehman, you made a great point that we have the space today. We may not have the space next year because a lot of parents that send their kids to private kindergarten will now decide to come to Monroe. So I think we need to look at, we need to call our principals here and have them explain how they are making full-day kindergarten, what compromises or adjustments are being made so that we can look at a referendum for facilities in the near future. I do want to address the biggest issue that this board is not talking about and is very critical to the taxpayers, given that we are looking at the budget that we're looking at. I know that's not in your control, but what is in your control is that our superintendent has been at home. A qualified superintendent has been sitting at home for 10 months now, getting her salary, while the district of 6,500 students is being run by Dr. Lehman, the assistant superintendent, and it's not right. And thank God for Dr. Lehman. We are, not missing a beat, but eventually something's got to give. And also, I haven't heard of any public discussions or votes about compensating Dr. Lehman. He's been doing this job for 10 months now, and that is also beyond ridiculous. So as a taxpayer, I know I don't want my taxes to increase, but at the same time, I know the person who is doing the job of 2 people for the last 10 months needs to be compensated for it. And there needs to be some conversation around it. The investigation has been going on for 7 months now. 7 months? We've got to draw an end to this. We keep voting no on legal bills. That is going to be another lawsuit, which is again going to be footed by the taxpayers. I am sorry, but there's no sugarcoating this request from the community in Monroe. This needs to be wrapped up now. You did what you had to do for whatever you believed in, but now you're in a position to expedite the outcome. Please do. I'm sure I can tell you that people here have the authority to push this forward sooner than now. 7 months is not what we were told. All right, thank you so much.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Ganeshwar Sada Masla, address 283 Morning Glory. So few things, right? I heard that the budget, there's an increase of, like there's a deficit of $12 million and 7% tax increase. I think that, I know we cannot control the healthcare costs and all that, but what is the board doing to get new avenues of funding from whatever sources it can, right? Like, I know the first thing is the state funding formula, which has been bad from 10 years, right? Now I see the board here. I want to say eye to everybody that we are having a case for for Dr. Chanley, superintendent, for a legal case, okay, which we have opened the investigation from August, okay, and still doing it. We are in an AI age where if you have all the information, it can just give you all the investigation done in a matter of minutes, okay? We can do that. But instead of that, we are not even trying to get, if you want to open a legal case, go and open a legal case with the state, right? So that we can fix the funding formula, get new money for this Monroe School District, which will be helpful so that the taxpayers don't have to increase, their tax bill should not go up. So I want to know what is the board doing for new avenues of income. The second thing is like, I know like, I don't know, I mean, your board knows more about how to reduce the budget, right? I mean, what are the places we can decrease our costs? That's something also we should look at. Maybe we don't need more administrators. I know that we have so many principals for every grade. I mean, if we are in a $12 million deficit and my taxes are going up 5%, then we should see what administrators we don't need, right? And then we can run those efficiently. We should do that. So I wouldn't want those questions answered from the board, okay? And as the second thing I want to say is that this superintendent investigation, which is going on from August, right? Why is it taking so much time? Okay, I would never ever vote for anyone on the board who will run again, because this is a bad thing which is happening. This is very bad that we are just sitting on the investigation, and whenever I need an answer, you'll say that, you know what, we cannot answer on this forum. This is so bad. I mean, come on. You are just doing the investigation from August and just sitting there, and we are paying legal fees, and now I saw that we have voted no for Dr. Chanley's legal costs. I mean, what are we doing on this board? I think it should be for the people of the school district and not against. And the third thing which I wanted to bring up was on the Diwali holiday. Last time we mentioned that the holiday for this year is on Sunday, but I would ask the board to, because what happens on Diwali, everybody is like celebrating the holiday. It's more kids and families who are visiting, and then they are late night doing fireworks and all that. So next day, if there are any school programs or any exams, the kids are not in a position to do that, and it's not fair for them. So I would request the board to at least have a compensatory holiday on Monday. Okay, so now I want my questions answered, like from the budget. So two questions, right? The budget perspective, what are the avenues the board is going to do to get more funding, and what is the board going to do to reduce the cost?
Okay, sir, your 4 minutes are up, so
Yeah.
if anybody would like to answer the gentleman about the budget? Who's going to answer?
Regarding the costs, we spend an awful lot of time, we go through, combing through every single account, looking at past years, looking at current year.
My question was specifically, how do you get more funding from outside and reduce cost in the, so two things, right? How do we get more money, and how do we reduce what cost we have?
Okay.
Because that will help reduce the $12 million deficit, right?
No, so we're not required to respond, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for your question, sir.
No, I didn't answer.
Well, your time is up, and we really don't have to respond to questions.
No, no, I just need some answers from the board. If you cannot answer me now, like, I need something, like you are sitting there are so many people on the board. right? I need anybody to answer that.
Sir, it's not a question and answer session. It's public comment. You've made your comment and you've run out of time. Thank you.
You'll not get any answer on this?
No.
So what is the, where
Sir,
is the
your
forum I
time-
can get
sir.
that question answered?
Sir, your time is up. You're going to have to take a seat.
No, when I'm saying next time, where is the place I can ask the question and I'll get an answer?
It's public comment. There's no public question and
No,
answer session.
what session I can ask my questions to get
None.
answered?
None. So please sit down. Take your seat, sir. Thank you very much.
Here we go again.
Chrissy Skirby, Monroe Township. Wow, times have changed. What happened to I will always answer the public's questions? Wow, that was very unbelievable. I have a couple questions. Mr. Marazine made a comment that some board members went to the board office to review the presentation. I'd like to know, when did the board actually get the budget? Because I asked as a citizen if I would be able to view the budget before the meeting, and I was told no. So I'm wondering when the board actually got the budget, and if you had time to go line item by line item to look at it before coming here tonight and taking a vote, because it was my understanding as of yesterday the budget was not completed. That's one of my questions. The other question I have, which is very alarming, as the former board president who was part of the negotiations for the teacher's contract, to hear that we have not even begun negotiations on a contract that ends June 30th, and we've decided, who decided on the 3.5%? If the negotiations committee are the board is the one who has the contract with the teachers union. It is up to the board how much money they want to negotiate with the MTEA. It is not up to the administration. I'd like to know, was the negotiations committee, I don't even know who the negotiations committee is, we've never heard that there was one formed. But did the negotiations committee have any say in what was being put into the budget? And how come no board members came here with any questions on the budget? $12 million increase from last year, and nobody had any meaningful questions? What kind of fiscal responsibility is that? You have residents coming up here asking questions that you should have asked. And in terms of going to Trenton and advocating, yes, everybody should be going, quite honestly. Ms. Allen, you should be going. Dr. Lehman, you should be going. Every board member should be going and testifying. But when you go and testify, you have to be careful that what you're saying is accurate. And I listened to Ms. Forst's testimony, and yes, we do need more funding. Can we afford kindergarten? Obviously we can, it's in the budget. So to say we can't afford kindergarten and then we're affording it isn't accurate to our state legislators. And to say that the senior tax freeze is hurting our state funding, one has nothing to do with the other. The senior citizens in our town that get the senior tax freeze, they pay their entire tax bill. That comes into the municipality. Then they apply through the state, through another program that has nothing to do with state funding, and they get reimbursed for the difference in their tax increase. That does not affect our state aid. So to go and say things to our legislators that is not accurate and not true, we have to be careful, because basically what I heard watching the testimony was, we can afford it, but we just want more. To use personal stories when you're going to testify in Trenton, that your child has to work and therefore doesn't have the money to afford daycare, so we should have full-day kindergarten, that's not a reason to bring full-day kindergarten to Monroe. The reason is educational reasons. Full-day kindergarten is not daycare. When we go to Trenton, somebody should be looking at what our elected officials in Monroe Township are going to say. It has to reflect the truth. Those are my comments. I'd like answers to my questions about when did the board get the budget and about the contract.
Your time is up, Ms. Kirby.
Dr. Lehman, were you going to answer when the board got the budget?
I'll answer. So we presented the budget to the board members on Monday. They came in, they had an opportunity to ask and answer quite a few questions. We continue to compile the budget documents. The budget itself was completed, so we were manually creating these documents that everybody sees and double checking. And the breakout document, the one that you saw, was emailed to them earlier this afternoon. In terms of posting documents to the web for the public, we posted it at 6:15, right as soon as we began the meeting, and that was consistent with what we've done in the past years. I actually went back and looked, and I can actually highlight. So for 25-26, we moved the public portion we moved these documents to the public portion after we presented. For the 24-25 budget, we posted these documents on the web the following day, and for the 23-24 budget, we posted them for public view during the meeting. So in terms of us completing them, we got these finalized documents done earlier this morning, and we provided the in-depth detail, which we discussed much of the detail when we had the board members in with us, so.
Only the ones that came. And just for the record, in previous years, the board got the budget.
Ms. Skirby, there's no more
week.
questions. Your time is up.
Thank you. The board got the budget a week before it was presented, not the day of. So board members should actually have
Okay, thank you
a
very
problem with
much.
that.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Good evening, board member. Dhaval Mehta. As I was asking the question earlier, and I'm not sure, as mentioned, that it's a public forum, it's not question and answer session. I have just a question regarding the Diwali holiday. Like in Hindu calendar, we consider Diwali as 5 days, and we celebrate for 5 days. And I understand like Diwali is falling on Sunday, and that's why the holiday is not given. Is there any consideration to give the holiday on Monday, like we celebrate for 5 days? And if not, the question is why even it is not mentioned as a holiday on Sunday on the calendar?
Yeah, we definitely, if it's not on there, and I believe it, I thought we were adding it, I knew we added a couple other holidays, we will certainly add that as the Sunday holiday. And that is traditionally for the years in past, we've been recognizing that. That's the first day of the 5 days, each year. So the Monday, if, we can have a conversation if the second day or the third day would be the preferred day to recognize, we can do that consistently. But for this coming year, we'll add it to the calendar for recognition on Sunday. We don't have the ability, we'd have to take another deeper dive into the calendar for as the gentleman said, as an extra day off to recover or from the late night on Sunday night. But, our calendar is fixed, it's set, and I would certainly gladly add it on Sunday for recognition. But if we want to have a conversation about is it better to consistently recognize the second day as opposed to the first day, moving forward, whatever day is appropriate. And if the first day is the preferred day, then we can keep that as well.
Yeah, no, first day is definitely the preferred day,
Okay.
right? Because Diwali is the main festival, though we thought we celebrate for 5 days.
Yeah.
Then if it's falling on the weekend, can it be considered like giving on Friday or Monday? So,
Yeah, and we certainly take a look at that on an annual basis. I actually didn't, sometimes I look a year out to see where it falls, because I know some of these holidays jump around.
Right.
Something we can certainly think about in the future, but I will definitely add it as a Sunday marker for sure. I think that's totally appropriate and absolutely appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Okay, good, thank you.
Bob Valentine, Monroe. I just want to make a couple of comments, kind of summary about the budget and a discussion about the efforts you're trying to make to get rate improvement and more state support. The budget you approved tonight is basically a blueprint of why the state doesn't need to do a damn thing for you. Everything's intact, all the programs are staying, kindergarten's being blended in, taxpayers will take care of it. It's basically, our individual representatives, like Linda Greenside might go and argue for us, but anybody outside our district looking at us is going to say, what's the problem here? They're doing everything they need to do. I'm not criticizing you for doing it. I just want to help you. I just want you to see that the budget, the way you laid it all out, what you're doing, it's really, to me, I look at it as an argument, well, you don't need to do anything to help us. You're making it work on your own by getting the taxpayers to fund it. And maybe you feel you have to do that, and that's your call. But, every district would love to have more money, right? They all would. And some have serious problems, as was pointed out. But at the end of the day, you have to manage the budget that you have and not the one you wish you had. And you made choices of what you're going to fund and what you're not going to fund and what you're not going to cut. You made your choices, you made your budget, and you're all individually accountable for that budget going forward. And it's not about what you wish you had. You did what you did based on what you had available to you, and you made your calls. The other comment I want to make is about kind of a general comment of investigations. Earlier we heard about the superintendent. Last month there was an issue with a second incident with a child, and you didn't want to talk about that because it's going to be an investigation. I understand that, okay? But at the same time, we're not talking about the Kennedy assassination. I mean, these investigations need to be done and resolved. I mean, the superintendent issue has the potential. I know not all of you may agree, but it has the potential to be a very serious exposure. And it needs to get addressed, it needs to get resolved. It's part of the reason why I asked the question I did during the budget. I would hope that this board would try to take the timing of a new budget cycle as a deadline to get the superintendent's issue finished, resolved, and closed in some way, whatever it may be. Get it done. It's taken way too long. It's going over a year soon, and it needs to get wrapped up. And if you tell the community you're going to investigate something, let's get it done with some expedition, with some intention, and get it done, and get back to the community and tell them what the findings are, what you learned from the investigation, what recommendations you're going to implement. Because you don't want the perception that investigation is just a way to say, we don't want to talk about it, we're not going to tell you anything about it. Okay? You need to get back to people with answers and resolutions. It's important, and it affects your credibility. So I would appreciate, really take a hard look and say, look, these are serious matters, and we need to get them wrapped up, and we need to make sure we're putting the attention to it that it needs to get it done. Because I think you're going to have a serious budget problem that's not resolved by the end of the year, based on what your answer was tonight. I know you have other pieces in there. You gave a good answer. But if it doesn't get done, you don't have enough to cover. And it creates all kinds of other issues. So you really it's time to really get this thing resolved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? If not, do I have a motion to close?
Motion.
Second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening and have wonderful holidays, everybody.